Maya that lives a life that's able to be honored. You can check her out on TikTok, YouTube, her website, and Pinterest at Bloom and Flourish. Not A and D, the letter N, Bloom and Flourish. She's a healer, herbalist, chemist, and biologist by degree. And we're thankful for what she does. Her business is to make sure that the business of the diaspora is taken care of. And so we're excited and we're grateful to be in front of you again as a community, as a family, to the moderators, administrative staff, to SOC, to those that agree with what we're going to say, disagree, et cetera, et cetera. It's all gravy. We're thankful and grateful to have you on. And all we ask is that you treat one another like human beings, and we allow this to be a safe space. And if not, we have moderators for a reason. So we've already given fair warning before people start saying, why did somebody mute me or this and that or whatever. We just ask that you respect the community and are respectful. The moderators do their best to make sure that they are as patient as they need to be, and I trust them with what they do. So we're thankful to everybody for being on. And once again, today we're going to talk about the truth about democracy. The truth about democracy. And we have a lot of stuff that comes up with democracy that we're not aware of, we don't know about. And I want to talk about the danger of living in democracy. A lot of people aren't aware of it. So we deal with all these different things that we're not thinking about, but there are actually dangers that come with democracy, as we will enlighten people on today. We think that the United States is the same thing as as a country. We don't realize the difference between that and a corporation. A lot of different things that are going on. So we want to talk about the truth about democracy. And I already know there's going to be somebody on here to make sure that they bring up, you can go somewhere else and this and that or whatever, and that's fine. But for those who want to actually listen, and discover what we're talking about, because we should get into some etymology that'll probably help people to realize what's going on. And so we want to talk about the truth about democracy. And so everybody who's on, whether you're on YouTube or you're watching this later on, if you're on with us live on TikTok, we appreciate you. Shalom to everybody. Peace. How you doing, Sister Cherise? How you doing, Sister Cynthia? Heal yourself. Hello. How you doing? Okay. And putting yourself out there. Okay, cool. Thank you very much for using the platform for that. How you doing, Cookie? How you doing, Sister Bree? Brother Alton, Miles, how you doing? Esamadi, hello. That bring it. All right, William. We'll try to do so. How you doing, Brother Vincent? I'm sorry, my screen is scrolling all over the place. Is it Coco Goddess? All right, thanks for being on. Fed Reserve and the IRS are both privately owned companies. Yep, for sure. We talked about that plenty of times. Yep, maybe it'll come up today. How you doing, Marcus Sheriff? Nana, how you doing? Thanks for being part of the community. David Smith. So to everybody, everybody, we're speaking specifically on what? We're speaking specifically today on the truth about democracy. Now, this is a series that's been going on for a little while now. You can always go to our YouTube page to be able to catch up on the series. We have a playlist for it. So you can go there, look up hashtag FindKofi, hashtag FindKofi, or you can even look up hashtag SOC or SOC, and it should be able to be something that pops up for you. Right? Somebody with the Let's Go Brandon. Cool. No problem. Hello to you. We're not Republican or Democrat on here, but if that's what you feel you got to do what you must. How you doing, Sister Deborah? So, and I have my son with me, of course, Monsieur Solomon. Salaman. Bien. I'm going to say hello. I'm going to say shalom. He's all bundled up. He got all this stuff around him to stay warm. You want to say shalom?
Shalom.
All right. So, as y'all know, in our culture, we make sure that our children are trained. So he's out here with his dad, out here listening in, and actually doing some of his own stuff as he's trying to do things on his level for children. So he's doing some stuff trying to get himself stronger for videos and stuff that he puts out or whatever as well. So thank you, everybody, for being on. We appreciate you. Thanks for taking some time out to be with us today. And today we're going to speak specifically. Oh, sea moss for the cough. Yeah, there's some other things going on. He's already got some eucalyptus and some other things going on. So yeah, but thank you for that. So hopefully the cough will get better. But if it doesn't get too much better, and he wants to be outside. If it doesn't get too much better, we'll probably send him in to make sure he stays, nice and warm. It's not too bad out here, but we don't want to take any chances. But thank you, everybody. We appreciate it. How you doing, Wavy? How you doing, Manubis? And thank you for that, Alicia. Alicia Solomon. Alicia said, "Get better soon." You say thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So you said America isn't a democracy. Well, exactly. It is and it isn't, but it's nowhere on paper is it a democracy, for sure. And that's why we're going to talk today about the truth about democracy. So we're not going to have too much disagreement, right, on that, because you can't have a democracy if it's not written on paper. Problem with it is, though, we don't know what the word democracy means. Democracy, right? So what does democracy actually mean is something that we should probably start off with so we can have the proper foundation. If we're going to talk about the truth about democracy, we should talk about what democracy actually is. How you doing, Keisha Snow? Thanks for being on. So what is democracy? Democracy is two words put together, what we would call a compound word, right? Now you're doing Pirate. Thanks for being on. So what is democracy? What can we call democracy? What can we claim that democracy is? People claim they're in a democracy but don't know what a democracy is. And even if you had a democracy, would you want a democracy once you know what it is? Oh, okay, thank you. I'll let them know. Itchy said get better for you as well, Solomon. Um, how you doing, Michael? And then what she said is for the corporation, by the corporation, the people have very little in the so-called democracy. Very true. So we were to look up this term democracy. Democracy is two words. If we can make it real simple etymology to start off with before we have a fight about democracy, if we're in one, if we're not in one, et cetera, et cetera. First things first, what is a democracy? You said you used to be a republic. You technically are a republic. Both are problematic. I agree with what you mean, I guess. But, like democracy is two words. You have demo and cracy. Look up demo and look up cracy, and you'll find out what the definition of a democracy is, right? Oh, wow. Okay, so Cynthia, praying for that, right? Well, Democrats, sure, but Republicans, you have a democratic republic, two sides of the same coin. Some people want to call it Republican oligarchy. Some people want to call it a mobocracy, right? Some people don't even realize you're being ruled by idiosyncrasy, right? Even though we don't want to look at that, but at the end of the day, democracy, you're living in a democratic republic, even though you're not in a you're not in a democracy in and of itself, right? And it is an illusion. You said democracy gets rid of the courtroom and the people decide what happens to the criminal. Not necessarily. See, democracy. So what is a demo? If I were to give you a demonstration, what am I saying? Let's deal with that, right? If I were to give somebody a demonstration, what am I saying I'm going to give you? What? You can't be docile? That's cool. So make sure. So we need to start working towards our people having land, having weapons, right? Having a place to stay, having a like mind, having governments, making sure that we're ready to go, acknowledging ourselves, knowing where we come from. And then if you're ready to rush, then sure. But if you think that we're ready for that, I don't believe that you've got enough. I believe that we should work towards that or just separate ourselves from the system. But once again, demo. Once again, see, we're going into the fight of all this stuff. Let's at least have a place where we can make the main thing the main thing. Can we have a foundation to work off of? You said demo is to demolish. Well, even the word demo is in the word demolish. So yes, when you demolish, sure, you're doing something. But what does demo mean? Now somebody said, right? Demo is a piece. A demo is a small amount of something. That's what a demo is. If I give you a demonstration, the TION on the word actually makes it a noun, a person, place, a thing. So now it's a thing that's only a piece of a thing, or a piece of a person, or a piece of a place, right? But a demo, if I were to say, I'm gonna give you my demo, right? I still play music, I guess, and I still do a little bit of producing, but I used to work in the music industry. And that's how I made a living for a huge part of my life. Sometimes still do, but not really that much anymore. Um, but if somebody said, I'm gonna give you a demo, or they said, help me with a demo, they're saying like a sample, a small piece, right? That's what we're dealing with. Matter of fact, demo can mean a little bit of information. It can also mean a small village. So you have demo, which is a little bit, or a small group of people, right, who are giving you a little bit. That's what a demo is. That's what a demonstration is. That's what if something is demonstrative, right? We put monster on it, right? But demonstrative, is actually dealing with that word a little bit, but we could say no, not really. D and then monster are two different things. So I'll give you that one. But demo is when they give you a little bit, right? Demo is when they give you a little bit. Well, we think the government used to be smaller, and it kind of sort of was, but it depends on that. See, we just talked about this yesterday. If you want to catch up on the recording, feel free to from yesterday. But we talked about we actually ended up a lot just talking about the Declaration of Independence, and there's a difference in the Declaration of Independence between what you think people are and what they say people are. Right? Like the Declaration of Independence was not a declaration for all people. It was a declaration for certain white white social construct, because not white doesn't really exist as far as people, but nevertheless, it was for certain white people who were landowners. And even out of those landowners, only a few of them were going to be allowed to vote. Right? So even when you look at the Declaration of Independence, you got to figure out who are the people. Because if you were a slave, you weren't a person. You weren't 60% of a person. You were 0% of a person. That's why that they had that's why you were added to the Three-Fifths Compromise. So they only had to pay. The South only had to pay 3/5 taxes on you. The North only had to pay 2/5 taxes on you because you were property. Right. So even when we talk about Declaration of Independence or the Constitution, if you're talking about 1776, 1789, 1791, if you want to go 13th Amendment, 1865, if you want to go to the 14th Amendment, 1868, I believe, you're still dealing with a demonstration, a few people who it's for. It's not for everybody. It's a demo. See? And when these people act, the people who are allowed to act upon it, remember, liberty or life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness were only for the people that the Declaration of Independence or the writers of the Declaration of Independence felt were people. So if they didn't consider you to be a person, then you did not have the right to life, liberty, or even to pursue happiness. Right? That's the truth. Right. And before somebody makes it about black or white, that's why I literally said white is a social construct. I get it. Somebody had to teach us that white was a real thing. They had to teach us that white had to be against black and all this stuff. They had to teach you that. I realized that. I recognize that, but we got to be honest about it. Even when we talked about the two-party system, of course, that's what we talked about yesterday. See, we've been talking about this is a series. So if you want to catch up on it, feel free to look up the information on YouTube channel and stuff and catch up on the playlist, which is called The Truth About, right? And it'll say truth about ... right? So you can catch up on that, but we even talked about that yesterday, where you're still dealing in a romantic government. How you doing, Mo Desire? Right? You're still dealing in a romantic government. How you doing, Sister Deja? Right? So a romantic government has what? In Rome, you had consuls. You had two consuls, and they could veto each other. And these two consuls had to make sure that they got as much stuff in before there was another vote. What is a romantic government? A romantic government is the government of Rome. It's a Roman type government. You're still dealing with a Greco-Roman type government, a romantic government. Romantic literally means Roman antics. Like the only reason you think romantic means stuff that has to do with relationship is or eros or sexual is because you think of certain terms the way the Romans did. Right. The reason you have platonic relationships is because the Romans, like what Plato said. Plato said that, the worst relationship you could have is between a husband and a wife. He said the best relationship you could have is between a male in his 40s and a preteen boy. So therefore, people think platonic means that we are friends, but we don't have any sexual whatever. No, platonic means that you are not attracted to the opposite sex. No, my child has some eucalyptus and stuff, and he's actually doing a lot better than what he was doing. And he wants to be out with his father, and he's learning, to do what his father does. So my son is okay. But thank you so much. And cough syrup would actually be one of the worst things I could give him, if anything, because it's not going to actually help him, even if it masks symptoms. But he's doing better. Thank you. If that's your way of saying, I hope he feels better, then thank you for that. Right. But once again, you're dealing with demo. You're dealing with a little bit. And then what is Cressy? Cressy is government. So put the two together. We govern you. A few people who give you a little bit govern you with a little bit of information. That's what democracy is, democracy. Now you're in a republic, and you think that the republic is great for you too, but a republic is Roman as well. A democracy is Roman as well. So you're in a romantic government. a government that uses Roman antics. You're in a government that uses what? Roman antics. Yeah, right. And people get so defensive that we can't listen. And said you get two approved, John. You get two choices. You are good or you are bad. That's what you get judged by. Okay, well, judged by whose culture? When somebody says something is good, what does that even mean? You said it's a little bigger than that? No. People give you a little bit of information ruled by it. For example, why do you have a birth certificate? Do you need one? You said that's not in the dictionary. Yeah, I don't care if a modern dictionary has changed something. That's like if you call somebody anal retentive. We know why somebody's called anal retentive. That's because that you had your boy Sigmund Freud. Sigmund Freud was somebody who was a child, child predator, right? And like little boys. And he said that being anal retentive was when a little boy was born and he wanted to have sex with his father. Father wanted to have sex with him, so he wanted to then have sex with his mother. But his mother wouldn't have sex with him, but he hung around his mother, basically, wanting his mother to do something up his behind that his father couldn't do. And then he wanted to do something to his mother, but he wasn't sexually mature enough, so he acts out as a child. You call it the terrible two. Sigmund Freud said that that's being anal. So you could look up the term anal retentive and probably not see that in there, but that's where it came from. So just because you want to call platonic relationships something different now, because you choose to try and keep up something but make excuse for it, and maybe that's not what you're doing, but the powers that be do. But we know where the platonic relationship came from. Where do I get my information from? Study, research, culture, travel, school, etymology, apologetics. All right, I didn't come up with this randomly. And thanks for being part of the community, Misunderstood. Study, what you want me to break down every single book that I've ever read? If you want to listen in long enough, you'll probably see where I get the stuff from. But I come from how about this? Let's start off with this. I come from a cultural perspective. If I'm going to talk about a word, I want to know the origin of the word. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against origin. Well, if I'm an excellent actor, you guys like to watch movies. So maybe you watch this one, and just like some of the movies like The Matrix or other movies that you like to watch, and you think that you find some truth in, maybe you'll find some truth in this. Right? Ad hominem is not going to get you anywhere on here. If you're here to depreciate, all you do is appreciate me and value. If you can't say anything that actually has to do with, I'm going to give you actual context and facts of what I'm saying, I'm just going to try and say that you're bad. You're just as bad as the person in high school that literally did nothing more than democracy. They tried to govern with a little bit. They say a little bit of something to try to make you feel bad, and then they try to make you govern. So all you do is prove my point. If you like to treat me like a human being, and if you'd actually like to be empathetic, how you doing, Big Brother Thomas? And if you'd like to actually learn something that might be something, or just hear something, even if you don't think you're learning something, hear. You can't learn if you won't hear. That's just real, right? So I'm giving you a different cultural perspective. You don't have to accept it. I'm not here to say that everybody must agree with me. And if you came here thinking everybody must agree, but once again, that's democracy. There can only be a little bit. Only this one viewpoint can exist, and we got to be governed by it. Right? That's democracy. Right? So once again, if you want me to give you every single book, I can't remember every single book. I can't remember every single library I've been to. I can't remember every single, but yeah, if you listen long enough, you'll start to hear certain things that you can go. And I thank you guys. I'm not saying everybody. I'm just saying, there are certain people that come on, have an ear to hear at least. If you don't have an ear to hear, go somewhere else where you can actually hear what you want to hear. But I didn't come here to scratch your ears. If you have itching ears where you only want to hear what is going to make your ear, stop itching or whatever, then you need to find that. Why do I want to look like this? Because I'm comfortable looking like who I look like. I didn't get dressed or allow my hair to grow the way it grows or to do whatever to ensure that like somebody who I don't know would be excited about it. My wife is here. If my wife thinks that I need to change my presentation of how I look, she can tell me that's the most
sexy.
There we go. Right. Thank you, baby. And my wife is sexy as well. And if the Most High says I need to change the way I look, I'll do it. But as far as what you're concerned, see what I'm saying? But it's democracy. People don't realize when they try to go ad hominem, you prove my point. You prove my point, right? Like, my point is that you have a little bit of information, or you say this is what you see the world through, and so you want to govern others by it. That's what you're living in. That's the truth. It's the same reason why she want to look the way she looked. Yeah, what kind of question is that? Yeah, Yeah, and even if we don't agree, that's what I'm saying. I'm not asking people to have to agree with everything. And I tell people all the time, please study what I'm saying. Don't just believe it just because we have a similar outlook, or we look similar, or we believe in a similar canon, or whatever the case might be. Like, please study what I'm saying to see if there's any truth to it. If I have fallacy, then show me fallacy. Like here's the deal. I'm not coming from a Eurocentric perspective today. And I'm not coming from an accredited source today. You know why? Because the greatest sources to ever exist were never accredited. The greatest colleges to ever exist were never accredited. Right? You like Harvard, never accredited. You like Oxford, never accredited. You like Berkeley, never accredited. You like Juilliard, never accredited. Because to accredit yourself means you have to bring yourself down to what the system says, and the system dumbs down the knowledge of the people. So feel free to look at these and use tools of your own to verify if something's there. Yeah, and people do get bold, but that's okay. I just wish that people would treat each other like human beings so we'd get further, right? No, no. What were we saying? Oh, what, like the one upstairs, I guess? We can. Especially if you want to plug that stuff in. Oh, I mean, I'm fine with it. I mean, yeah. Thank you, though. I'm sorry, brother. It's fear. You are power. I'd rather learn from you than watch TV. Keep going. Amen. Yeah, we're going to keep on going. And thank you for that, right? And there's a lot of people who are there, so, but this system is designed just like fluoride, and we can keep on fluoride, chlorine in the water, or different things. We don't want to admit that the system is designed to dumb people down. You can't control, right? And I need you to comprehend this. Like, the system wants to control you. Even see, we've laid out what democracy is. People can look it up if they want, or people can just say, hey, I'm going to go off of whatever I want it to be. But the system wants to control you, right? The reality is that the system wants to control you. And so if the system wants to control, the system cannot serve you, right? And we got to get that across. I'm sorry, Miss Magic could, that has nothing to do with the conversation. Yeah, right. But if the system wants to control you, hear what I'm saying, then the system cannot serve you. Because here's part of how law works. I cannot control what I serve, and I cannot serve what I control. Right? You said amazing how some people start to read things they will never believe. That's interesting too, right? Right? You cannot control what you serve. You cannot serve what you control. So if you are in a system that controls, then you cannot be in a system that serves. So try telling some family members that. I do. And if I have family members that try to be controlling, still love them. You can love your enemy. So you can love your family. You can love them from a distance. Doesn't mean that I have to bow down to what they say. Right? Well, the USA is a republic, not a democracy. A democracy is two wolves and a lamb deciding what's for lunch. Lunch, I guess that's what you're trying to say. Once again, a democracy is a few people who live together, who give you a little bit of information and govern you by it. Democracy, right? A republic, right, is something that is what happens if somebody publishes something? A publish, public, that pub, republic. If somebody republishes something, what are they doing? You said actually we're under a constitutional republic. You're under a democratic republic, but on paper they would say it's constitutional, but constitutional just means that somebody wrote out some words. So there's a lot of people under constitutional republic. The People's Republic of China is under a constitutional republic. The Republic of Russia is under a constitutional republic. See what I'm saying? We're so close. But see, once again, we want to control. Even when we talk about government, we need small government. So you're saying you need smaller control. We need big government. So you're saying you need bigger control. But those who control you they cannot serve you. Those that serve you, they cannot control you. Right? You hear what I'm saying? You're in a democratic republic. So here's the republic. Like, even on the republic issue, because everybody's arguing. See, once again, we can't have a thing because we can't get into the same place. Right? You said President Trump gave you back to the republic before he left office. Look, I'm not a Republican or a Democrat. Right? Nor am I this modern version of an American, and I got sense enough to know it, which is why I'm a non-citizen national. And now the United States of America has to protect me rather than treat me like a slave. Right? Like let's get out of this thing that has us under control. Why do you want to be controlled? If you want to talk about what the United States is, why don't we start off with the United States as a corporation? If you don't believe me, you can look it up for yourself, by the way, because people say, what's your source? And this and that, blah, blah. Look up, here it is, if you can find it, USC 3002 15. I'm sorry, hold on. USC 3002 15A. USC 3002 15A. USC 3002 15A. Salami. Yeah. What? 3002, sorry, USC 3002 15A. Look it up for yourself. See, you're so busy talking about this stuff. Look up USC right now. Google. Right? Google is free. Go to your library and we'll look it up if you want, whatever. Because some of y'all say, well, Google, not everything's on Google. Google is like using your Dewey Decimal System. But look up USC 3002, as in 3002 15A. And you will see clearly, this is the United States that writes this out, that says that it is in fact a corporation. Okay? USC 3002 15A. Look it up for yourself. And when you see that it's a corporation, now let's have a different conversation, right? What is a corporation? Not what you're going to look up in your dictionary. Look up Black's Law Dictionary. Look up a legal definition. You tell me what a corporation is legally. And why do you want to be part of that? You said being born in a corporate institute makes you a legit product. Yeah, it makes you a product of the corporation. You're owned. Right? Thank you, Josh. Joshua. Did I say that right? Joshua mate? I don't know if I said that right. So produced by them to make money and to be used as property. There you go. You said, what's the difference? What do you mean, what's the difference? I'm telling you, look at a corporation. First and foremost, right? Before you want to go into any of this stuff, do you know what a corporation is? USC 3002 15A. That's a United States corporation telling you USC. Even they ain't even lying, even though they'll tell you mean something different. They're giving you USC, United States Corporation. Look up what they say, and then if you do further research, you will find that that corporation has its headquarters in Washington D.C., which is the only place that's not a state. You know why? See, people don't even get this. People don't even get this. Allow me to go ahead and give you a little extra, right? Why is it that the corporation that you're in, it has its headquarters in the only place that's not a state or not a country? You know that every state is a country. The United States of America, or 50 United States or 50 United countries that are supposed to protect citizens. However, if those citizens are part of the public, then they call them citizens. If they're part of if they're protected though as sovereign, then they're called private and public. Kind of sort of London and UK. That's kind of like a roundabout place. You ready to go down rabbit holes that I don't know if we have time for today, but you're on. Obviously, we here. I'm just going to say that. I'm not going to say you're wrong. I just don't know if I have time to really get into that today, right? But that's a lot, right? You said, do I live in the USA? And if so, what's the reason for not leaving this stuff? I live in a few places in the United States of America. I travel a lot, though, across America and other countries as well, as often as I can. Haven't really done that much since this, but see, I live in the United States as a different type of person. You might live in the United States of America as a citizen. I live especially with the lowercase c, right? If you know your Constitution that people keep bringing up, the Constitution up to the 13th Amendment, everybody's a citizen with an uppercase C. 14th Amendment on, everybody's a citizen with a lowercase c. They even told you, but you don't even think. We don't think that every word that is uttered out of their mouths is something that must be studied. Right? So I don't live the same life because I live a sovereign life. Like, I can eat off the land. I don't live the same way that everybody else does. You see, like I can go get something to eat, but I don't have to live off the land. So I don't worry about those things. My child is homeschooled. So I don't have to worry about, the same stuff that everybody else is worried about as far as paying taxes to a school, because that's not a benefit or privileges that I have to worry about. I don't worry about a 9 to 5, right? I live a lifestyle and I do stuff for my community that's able to help my family out. So I don't worry about the 9 to 5 lifestyle. So I don't have to worry about indentured servitude all the time, unless I decide to sign up for it only on my terms, or worried about being a debt slave, because it's not a benefit or privileges that I'm part of. See, I live differently. You said, here we go. Sovereign life, but you still live in the U.S. and are still subject to the laws. Well, everybody's subject to law. That's a foolhardy statement. No, no offense, but I guess since we're being offensive, I don't mean I'm not trying to be too defensive, but that's a foolhardy statement. If we be honest, why would somebody not obey laws? Why would I not? As a sovereign, I should know the law greater than the lawgiver. Right? As somebody who wants to be the beneficiary of the trust that's been written, I should know the law greater than the trustor who wrote it. That's when you go before a judge. If you want to be the beneficiary of the winner, then you look at what the trustor, the person who wrote out the law, does. The judge is just nothing more than a trustee. Really, the judge is a priest. That's why they wear a priestly robe. They got that from where your fathers came from. If you're an American still, as far as this modern American, your fathers came from England. That's where they got that from. You see what I'm saying? Like that doesn't make sense. Why would you be sovereign and not want to obey law? You said the same laws that set up the corporation, right? No, no. There are, watch this. Why are laws written? Because this obviously must be your first time listening to something like this, or listening to me. Um, right? Well, 9 to 5 does help people. What I'm saying is the goal is to try your best. If you're going to do a 9 to 5, at least have a 9 to 5 that's going to do something that's there. But the 9 to 5 mindset was created for what? To make sure people could be, controlled somewhat, right? In other countries, you go to other countries, they make just as much money as you, and they don't work 9 to 5s, right? So laws are written to protect your rights. Laws are not given to create rights. Laws are given to do what? To protect rights. So there's the rights of the public and there's the rights of the private. You said there's law and civil code. Kind of, sort of. You don't think the civil code is treated like law? If we're talking about code versus law, we're getting into minutia, which is fine. I get what you're saying. But hear what I'm saying. We're talking about basics right now. We're talking about basics, right? Basics of this thing. The law is written to protect your rights. If you want the right of a public citizen, then you will do what the public citizen does. The public citizen is somebody controlled by the government. If you're controlled by a democratic republic, then you want to follow. If you want to make sure that you are as a sovereign, right? Because wherever a sovereign's foot treads, that is theirs. A sovereign is somebody who lives by law, right? And however they are recognized as an actual, um, what's the word? Natural man or natural woman. Not even a natural person. Okay. So we're having a different conversation. See, we got to set this up. We're trying to talk about democracy, and people are arguing all this stuff. You're not even to a place to where we can have that argument, because you're talking about something that's not real. You hear what I'm saying? Right? You're talking about something that's not real. Like the corporation of the United States is not even a real country. You think that a corporation is a country. That's the problem. You still think that it matters more where you were born than who you were born from. Right? You think that wasn't even created until your 14th Amendment citizenship. Right? You're talking about something that's different. You bringing up all this stuff. It wasn't until the 14th Amendment. That's 1868. I know you think that's ancient history, but that's just 3 to 4 generations ago. Your great grandmother, your great grandfather, depending on your age, right? They grew up in a place where it didn't matter where you were born. It mattered who you were born from. I don't know. I just let my hair grow. in all honesty, right? You said maybe that's why they want more babies, no matter the health of the mother. Uh, Even in that, we're getting into stuff like, like we got to recognize that once again, we're talking about a different conversation, right? Like we think that it matters where you're born. So that's why people are saying, if you're in the United States, why do you still stay in this town? I don't live like the average United States citizen. And it's not because I make more money either. I make a lot less than a lot of you guys that are listening right now. I've done my family's been in the place where we've made 200,000 a year. And we've been in the place where we ain't making that much. And now we're somewhere in between. I've been in the place where I've been homeless on the street. I've done those things before. Been there, done that. Right? But I live sovereign. I live separate from the system. So I don't worry about the same things that you have to worry about. Right? Even living paycheck to paycheck is something that becomes different when you live sovereign. Right. For example, paycheck to paycheck, you got to worry about. See, it's not just paperwork. It's not just us arguing over what we call ourselves, our religiosity, if we're Republican, Democrat, Green Party, Libertarian, have no, we have no thing that we bow down to or whatever. We vote, we don't vote. Like it's bigger than that. It's bigger than your paperwork. Like this thing is talking about like, can you eat? If right now they shut down your food again, like they just did a couple of years ago, right? And they said you can't get the food that you want, you can't get the clothes that you want, and you got to wait in lines that are 2 hours long, and then they limit how much water you can buy and this and that. Could you make sure that you have your own water? Could you make sure that you have your own food? Could you go out into a forest and forage for food to make sure your family's okay? See, that's sovereignty. The truth about democracy is, once again, they give you a little bit of information and govern you with it. That's what a democracy is. Demo, a little bit, people that live together, giving you a little bit. Cracy, government. The only reason why people even like to attend these lives and things that we do is because democracy, or because we're giving you more than democracy. They give you a little bit of information. All we do is say, here's some more information. Go read for yourself. Right? We're free, I'm sure. Is being able to do things for yourself. Now, going back to what Miss Magic said a little while ago, like, so why would I not want to obey laws? See, every law that you're talking about comes from other law. Right? All these laws that you're talking about, they come from other laws, whether you're aware of that or not. Because authority, right? You probably heard this term before, authority or certain things that roll downhill. Authority rolls downhill. It's like a snowball effect. You're authorized to do what you do. Are you authorized to do what you do? Are you authorized to say what you say? Yeah, I know. I froze up. Need to make sure that I charge my phone. So I know I froze up a little bit. Right? But are you authorized? See, you're talking about law. Are you authorized to talk about the law that you're talking about? Are you authorized to talk about this law that you're saying, you're describing? Are you authorized to have these conversations? Are you authorized to talk about government? Right? Are you authorized for that conversation? Are you ready for that conversation? It flows downhill from somebody. See, watch this. See, people don't even know these terms. I talk about public and private law. A lot of people don't even know what that means. Right? That means you're part of the you're under the government, or you're sovereign by some other means, but you got to be attached to something in order to be private. But what about those things I just talked about, public and private law? They come out of something called substantive law. Do you even know what that is? That whatever law you're talking about, it has to be of substance. Right? And out of substantive law, you also have to have procedural law. That means we have to have certain procedures in place in order for it to be lawful. And then we have to have remedial law. That means there have to be remedies when people break the law. Are you aware of those? Or are we just talking just to talk? Are we arguing just to argue? You see what I'm saying? Like, people don't know what those things are. What about before substantive law? Substance, there's something above that. It's called natural law. I just told you my technical status is a non-citizen national, right? Separated from the system. You see what I'm saying? Substantive law. Substantive law is something of substance, but something of substance has to come out of natural law, the law of nature. right? What is the law of nature? It even mentions it. We talked about this yesterday. It even mentions it in your Declaration of Independence. For those of you who keep going back to this and saying what it does and what it doesn't mean and what a democracy and republic is and all that stuff, it tells you in the Declaration of Independence that they believe that there are only certain people that are created to be people, and those people have a God. And they said that God has natural law, and they want to be under the laws of the nature of that God. So even if you're sitting up here talking about these things, you can't talk about it without talking about a spiritual aspect, because even they have a spiritual aspect. Now, whether they believe they're the gods or not, you have to actually study that. But let's look at it on paper. If that's your system you want to go by, your founding fathers, they said this, not me. You said they were, yes, we live. You said, yeah, I guess you saying, yeah, we live in a community and we depend on others about laws. There were laws before we were born. Sure, I agree with that. I don't, no, not trying to come against you, 587. I just don't know what direction you're going. But yeah, of course there were laws before we were born. That's why I just said before substantive law, there's something called natural law. Make no one ask a question. People are new here and trying to understand. Sure, try to understand. Just speak, as a human being towards people. I don't know what the issue is. Just treat each other with respect. There shouldn't be any problems. Not everybody's on here. If somebody comes on here, your hair looks stupid. That's not a question. If somebody comes on here, you're dumb. You don't know what you're talking about. That's not a question. It's not. Right? I trust the moderators. The moderators are like family. We actually talk to each other. This is a community where we know each other. We travel to see each other. We're all over the United States of America. We're all over the world, technically. Right? But this is a safe space. If people don't want to treat it as such, then they don't have to be on here, because we have authority too. Right? We speak with authority because we are under authority. All right, so you're going to have to figure that out. Okay. You all right? Okay. It's okay. I'm just saying you have to figure that out. Right? So first things first, democracy. Right? Before you get to democracy, we're speaking a little bit and trying to say we should govern everybody with a little bit. Watch this. And how you doing, Sister Lori? And thanks for being part of the community. I don't know if it's Sassy Nancy, etc. Right? Hear this. Hear what I'm saying. You ready for this? Right? A little bit. How many of you have a degree? How many of you that are listening today have a degree? I'm not saying if you're better or worse than anybody, right? I have a degree. I really don't care that as much about it as some did, but I got it because it's something you're supposedly supposed to do, right? Okay, if you have a degree, then that means you have a degree of knowledge. Yeah, we already talked about that. You're in a democratic republic. If you want to say Republican oligarchy, if you want to say this because democracy is not in the Constitution, that's fine. Hear what I'm saying, okay? Thank you for arguing. At least listen now. Now that you've argued that, I got you. I know what you mean, right? I heard somebody else. We're a constitutional republic. So is China. So is Korea. So is Russia. So is England. All right. So is Canada. So is Mexico. Okay. So now that we're finished with that, right? Let's start at a place, right? A lot of you say you have a degree. That means you have a degree of knowledge. That's fine. Whatever. You have the right to be able to go and listen to somebody else who's not off, right? But you have a degree of knowledge. How many degrees are there in a circle? I mean, heck, how many degrees are there in a Masonic order? You think you have one degree? There's 306 degrees in the circles. There's 33 degrees in these people that say that they're Masonic, that they say they have knowledge that you don't, right? And you're concerned about a degree. See, but we think that, once again, we have a little bit of knowledge and we say that should govern us. I'm sorry, you said your student. I'm the student. You're 67 years old and looking at degree perspectives, including yours. Thank you. Yeah, and that's all we're doing is just giving another degree. I don't mind other perspectives. The only thing that the only reason why some of the moderators are doing what they're doing to some of you is because you guys are coming out here and just saying all types of stuff and calling people names and making fun of hair and this and that or whatever, right? Like, that's the problem. Like, let's talk like human beings. right? Even that should be a degree of knowledge that some of you should receive for the first time. Obviously, some of us don't have a degree of knowledge that says, where's your decorum? Why is it okay that every other culture is presented except this culture? You see what I'm saying? We thank you, Hussein. Appreciate, or is it? I don't know if I'm saying that right. Hussein. I couldn't see it. Right. Knowledge is power. What is knowledge? Knowledge is intimacy. To know somebody means I'm intimate with them. That's why you go certain places in the world, even certain places in America. You better not say I know so and so, because they'll be like, oh, you know them, right? Because to know means something different than what we think it does. That's why even in your Bible, read your Bible, it'll bless you. Romans chapter 10, verse 1. It's still my prayer that Israel will be saved. Romans 10:2. But Israel has a zeal for Elohim, but it's not according to knowledge. You ain't intimate. Even those who believe in that canon, right? Follow the Bible. It tells you straight up, there's a lot of people that be speaking on this stuff, but it's not from what? From intimacy. Uh-oh, hold on one second. For some reason, I'm having power issues. I think somebody unplugged me inside. I need to make sure we're plugged up because I do not have that much battery left. I'm sorry, y'all. Give me a second. I promise I'll be right back. I promise you I'll be right back. I'm sorry. I don't know what just happened, but if we don't get plugged in, we ain't gonna make it that long. Hold on one second. Be patient with me. Okay, hopefully we got a change. Sorry about that. I don't know what happened. I think somebody accidentally unplugged it when they were moving something. Yep, okay. All right, looks like we're straight. Sorry about that. I apologize. It was not my intent to do that. We still got a few people that decided to stay on. All right, cool. So yeah, so we got to get into this democracy piece. That was Romans chapter 10, verses 1 and 2. Matter of fact, really, in order to comprehend it, you got to go really read a bunch of stuff in Romans. We actually have something on the YouTube channel called The Roman Road, so you can actually realize what that's saying. But Romans chapter 10, really verses 1 through 4, if you want. Paul says in verse 1, it's still my prayer that Israel would be saved. It's talking about law, right? A people of law. Still my prayer that Israel be saved. Verse 2, however, Israel has a zeal for Elohim, but is not according to knowledge. Verse 3, therefore, we got into laws and principles that were not substantive, they were not natural, they were not universal, they were not kingdom. Therefore, verse 4, the law that should be for us, it doesn't serve us anymore. But if we get ourselves together and we would confess that same law, now that's Romans 10:9. Now you can confess. Confess, even in the Greek, it means homologio. It means to have the same logic. Now, if you carry the correct logic and you confess under that logic that Yahshua is Adon, that he is Lord, then Elohim, who raised him from the dead, you are a fellow heir to what Yahshua did. So if you believe that Yahshua was raised from the dead through that logic, then you yourself can be raised from the dead, but you're still not all the way there. Why? Because verse 10 now says you're still on your way unto salvation. You got to be salvaged and reach a certain place, become greater than what you are now, and you have to go to a certain place of righteousness, right, lawful standing. Right. And then verses 13 through 15. But how can you? So anyone who calls upon his sham or his name, his authority, they shall be saved. But how can you be saved if you haven't what? believe. But how can you believe this if you haven't heard it, right? How can you hear it if it's not being proclaimed or preached? How can it be proclaimed if it's not being proclaimed from somebody who's coming from the right system? Therefore, he quotes Isaiah 43, verse 1 and Romans chapter 10, verse 16. He says, hey, therefore, if we're going to talk about this, how in the world are we going to talk about this? Who's going to believe our report? Nobody's going to believe this because you haven't heard it. You haven't lived it. We're not sovereign. We have non-sovereigns preaching a sovereign. See, if he's the King of Kings, then that means he's the sovereign of sovereigns. But you don't know sovereignty. So how can you know sovereignty and preach sovereignty, but you don't live sovereignty? How can you live democracy and treat sovereignty like it's democracy? Right? You hear that? Oh, thank you, Bright. I appreciate that. Yeah, they're getting better. Salaman. Boy. Boy. Okay. All right. So how you gonna believe what you haven't heard? How you gonna live sovereign and you don't know? Watch this. Because above natural law, there's something called universal law. Somebody help me out. SOC, can y'all take a break? SOC, take a break because I know SOC know the answer, right? Y'all help me out. What is a universe? If I say I'm in a universe, what is the definition of a universe? And people are gonna come up with all types of stuff. Right? SOC, hold up. Let somebody else answer. What is a universe? This is gonna help you. This is gonna help you with the context of what we're talking about. Thank you for the love. Appreciate it. Y'all said, oh man. Oh, Mrs. Reed. Okay, maybe you already know. Okay, some people came on. I think y'all, okay, well, y'all might not. Okay. All right, cool. A single spoken sentence. That's what a universe. A verse sentence. Spoken sentence. So a universe is a verse, spoken sentence. A single spoken sentence. So how do you have universal law, but you don't know who spoke the universe? Yeah, I figure. Yeah, I know, Mrs. Reed. Right, but how do you know the universe? How do you know universal law, but you don't know the one who speaks the universe? That's why, like we talked about yesterday, that's why when you look up in your Declaration of Independence, it starts in the first paragraph. It says who they declare as people, and then they say that they are under natural law, and they want to be under the law of nature concerning their God. Because they can't have law that's substantive unless it comes out of nature, and it can't be natural unless it comes from the universe, and it can't come from the universe unless it's from the one who spoke the universe into existence. You can hate it all day, you can say it's wrong all day, but we don't know proper context. That's what your laws are based on. See, you think your law is based off of evolution, right? Evolution is not lawful. You go into a court of law and start talking about evolution, they will not listen to you. You'd be mad at it. I'm telling you the truth. Them people wearing priestly robes, when you show up, you call them judges. Only real judges are the Supreme Court. Everybody else is just a priest for the corporation. Right. But when you walk into their stuff, they're not gonna hear you when you start talking about, well, I evolved into blah blah. They're gonna be like, what does that mean? We need a context for that. We need something in law for that. What does that lawfully mean when you say you evolved? So you're just thinking, oh, you should know what I mean, evolved. I'm saying I went to another level. They're going to say, what do you mean? You go into a courtroom talking about I'm black. They're going to say black, Negro, colored, African American. They're going to say those are not considered to be real people by law. You can say, oh, no, you're making a big thing. We're all Americans. No. Lawfully speaking, don't go into, look, I'm black all day, every day. No problem with it. But if I go into court, non-citizen, natural man, all day. The truth about democracy will shock you if you're willing to learn the truth. The truth is what makes you free. See, now people coming off. People don't like when we talk about this, when you get into scripture and stuff like that, but that's what you're under. But they give you a piece of it. They give you a piece of the Bible. Put your hand on it and swear. They give you a piece of the Bible, right? Have 2 or 3 witnesses, 2 affidavits, 2 or 3 witnesses. They give you a piece of the Bible. What's the nature of that, lawfully speaking? This is why you can't watch this. This is why Solomon, do me a favor, sir. Go over there and get, you know which one is the green onion? I'll hold this for a second. You know which one is the green onion or the sage? You know which one's the onion?
Yeah, that one.
That's next to the sage. Pick it for me. Let me see. Yeah, give me a piece of it. Yep, bring it over. Thank you, sir. Appreciate you. My son out here knowing his plants. Look at that boy. Let me faster. Exactly. All right. Check this out. You have a green onion, right? Grown, pretty easy, tastes great, all that, right? Okay. How you doing, brother TJ? You could never patent this. You know that? If you're not aware of that, let me say it again, just to make sure that you're on track with this. You could never patent this. It's not lawful for you to think that you could patent this green onion. Why is that? See, we don't know how law works. You don't know democracy. Democracy, they give you a piece of it. That's why all we do is just give you more information. They give you pieces of information, and then you fight over it, thinking that that's what governs you. You need to know more. Natural law, right? But deeper into natural law. Why is this? Why is it that I can't patent this? Because it's natural, which means what? Lawfully, in the books. If you were to go to court, they would reason the same way I'm about to reason with you. Why is it that they would say you can't patent this? You can't patent this. You can't make money off of this as far as saying it's yours. You can sell it, but you can't say it's yours. You can't say every time somebody tries to sell this or make this, they have to give you money. Why? Because you didn't make it. Exactly. Who made it then? You didn't alter it. If you alter it, then you can go ahead and say, you can sell it because it's not the way that the Most High made it. See, yes, the Most High, Yahweh Elohim, he created it. And when he created it, now he has a patent on it. That means the one who spoke the universe, universal law, right? The one who's the King of Kings, kingdom law, right? Who's married to his creation, marital law, spoke this into existence, universal law, right? And therefore, this is something that is his nature, natural law. And therefore, if we ever got into a courtroom to discuss substantive law, the substance of this, I can never make this a private corporation thing, but it always has to be something that is publicly allowed to be ate by all. And as far as the procedure and even the remedies that come from it, all these things I just mentioned are law, right? Whether you're dealing with common law, admiralty law, law of equity, all these things. Why? Because somebody created it. That's exactly what this is. You can't create what was patented by the Most High. It's his creation. You can argue it all you want, but it's in law. It's in the law book. You can't. Now, if they alter this, if they have to actually literally, when they make the medicines that they make, the pills that you take, when they make the fake versions of these things and stuff like that, what they do is they take a piece of it and they focus on it, but they have to take pieces away. So when they take pieces away, it's not whole. You would call that wholly, but put a W before that H. It's not whole. It's not wholly made. So since it's not wholly made, it's not made. It's not natural. Since it's not natural, it's not the nature of the one who spoke the universe. Since it's not the way the one who made the universe, it's not something married to him who he's become one with. And therefore, since it's not something he became one with, it's not kingdom. Therefore, if you change this and alter it, you can now patent it. But see, democracy, they don't tell you that. This is why there's truth to what people were telling you about mRNA when they were talking about the shots. Does everybody know exactly what they were talking about? No, right? But there's some truth in the mRNA, because if somebody gives you something that messes with your or messes with the mRNA, then it changes your DNA. Even if it doesn't change all your DNA, it will in fact change your DNA. And if you look up court cases, do some case study, you will discover that there are people in America and in Canada and in Europe who have already tried to see if they can go ahead and say that people should be owned by them because they have altered DNA. That's real. You can be mad at it all you want, but you can look this up for yourself. I'm not telling you anything that's opinionated. I don't do opinions on here. We deal in contextual facts. We're going to hashtag finish strong and living in that which we have pursued. And this year I've been pursuing truth like no other year in my life. And I'm trying to tell you that you don't know law, and therefore you don't know democracy. Democracy is when they give you a little bit of information. There's even a company that makes the shots, that helps to rather disperse the shots and distribute it. They are literally, when you look up their letters and you put their letters in order, the letters spell out mRNA. Because the way law works, you cannot lie. You can only suggest. See, yes, the devil is a liar in a sense, but he has to start off with real stuff. A devil, by the way, can just be one who devalues if you don't want to go to the spirit realm, right? So you have people that devalue life and devalue each other and devalue stuff, and they just want to make money off of each other. And the reality is that talk about these items. You can't talk about this stuff without actually realizing that there's people who devalue you. You think that there's value in everything. There's not value in everything. Democracy is about giving you a little bit and then telling you to and governing you off that. If you don't believe so, watch this. Somebody gives you a little bit. You ready for this? People don't want to go there. Go here. Oh, thank you. Yep. Moderna. That my wife just put it in the comment section. Look up Moderna and look up what they do. Right? Moderna. Mod ERNA. A real company. Right? And people don't want to talk about the spiritual aspect of it, but you know that pharmakeia or pharmacia, all right, pharmacy, it literally means witchcraft. Witch means anybody that tries to control. So people be trying to call people witches and they're not even real witches. Witches are people that try to control people. If you craft something, then craft means I made it. So a witch controls people. Somebody who crafts something who's a witch, they control things to, or they create things to control you, right? Democracy, by therefore definition, is witchcraft. It is pharmakeia. It is pharmacy. You don't know how law works, though. If somebody alters what the kingdom says, then it is what? It can be patented. If somebody alters who you are, birth certificate, social security card, then you can be what? You can be patented. Uh-oh. See what I'm saying? Like, this is stuff that's real. We just don't want to look through that lens. I'm not telling you, I'm not even, these last few days, I have not been hitting y'all over the head with scripture that much, right? I've been telling you contextual facts. Look this up for yourself. Like, if just law, if you comprehend law, then you comprehend scripture so much better. We keep talking about what this surah says and what this, what this sutra says and what this says and what that says. Man, if you knew law, you'd be able to find it without what these people have been trying to tell you for centuries. Right? If you knew what a jot and a tittle was, you would never read Matthew chapter 5, verse 18 the same way ever again. If you knew that world meant cosmos, see, this is why we get to give you more information. See, eternal salvation means eternally you're being salvaged. That's all we're talking about. Let's break these words down to what they are. If we talk about eternal salvation, we're saying every day for the rest of eternity, you should be able to be given something more than what you've been given the day before. And that's all we're talking about. See, democracy means demo. I give you a little bit, and Chrissy, I govern you with it. So you have a little bit of information trying to govern your whole life off of it, thinking that your eternity is going to be based off of what you do. This is why people get stuck in stuff. That's why, look, no shade to anybody's religiosity. I'm just trying to show you what this stuff means. That's why some of you are Russellites. You might call yourself a Jehovah's Witness. You don't know that Jehovah's Witness is somebody who obeys Charles Taze Russell over the Bible. And you are still saying the same thing that Russell said. He's dead, gone, and changed what the Bible said, but you're still looking at that insight to the scriptures and Watchtowers and Awake magazines and all that stuff, not realizing that it's all about Charles Taze Russell. You were sitting up here talking about methodology. Methodology was about one guy who said, I like this one particular method. And so for the rest of eternity, you think it's about one person's method. You said you don't do that, Bible? Okay. I'm just telling you what these words mean. You hear what I'm saying? Like, people call themselves Cristianos. You don't even know that Christian and Cristianos is something that was written after the Bible was written, which means somebody had to put that thing in there. And Cristianos was not something that you thought was something that's powerful. You think that Cristianos and Christos mean the same thing, and they don't. Right? You might think that, oh, I'm going to be a Mormon, right? Well, guess what? The person, Joseph Smith, that wrote the Book of Mormon, he was somebody that was off. He lied. He was killed by his own people, and he hated women. He hated any male child that might usurp authority over him. So he thought, and he was somebody that said that the reason why there's white and black people on the earth is because white people fought for the Mormon Jesus. People who were with the devil and fought with the devil and lost. They don't have anybody to go in. That's why that they don't have a body. And then everybody else who was a coward, that didn't fight for one side or the other, they got color on them. Right? That's what you're dealing with, but we don't know that. You see what I'm saying? Democracy, right? That's why the book of Revelation chapter 2, twice, it tells you stay away from Nicolaitan doctrine, right? You said I can't use Google to find the truth. Yeah, before Google even existed, I knew these things. Maybe you didn't. I would suggest that you use Google like the Dewey Decimal System. If you can use the Dewey Decimal System in a library, you can use Google to be able to find stuff. Because just like not every book is correct, not everything you're going to read on Google is correct. Study to show yourself approved. Then bring it before Elohim that you can be a workman that needed not be ashamed, rightly dividing the word of truth. You ain't going nowhere with that, right? But anyways, right? It's a nice try. But at the end of the day, this is bigger than Google. Before Google existed, I knew these things, right? I knew these things because I left the faith. I was born and raised somewhat, right? My mother was, my father wasn't, but I was born and raised Jehovah's Witness, preaching as Jehovah's Witness, knocking on doors and watching people hide from me, talking to people at 6 years old, door to door, preaching a word, 6 years old, right? And realized that it wasn't right around my teenage years or whatever. Google didn't exist yet. Thank you, though. Appreciate it. So, and all those things, you got to make sure that you realize what's going on. And all these things, you got to realize what's going on. Right? You got to realize that you're dealing with a lot of people who have a little bit of information and are trying to govern you by it, or they don't like when you say something. So therefore they say, oh, okay, every time that you say something, I'm going to say, that it's wrong. It's this and that because you're governed by a little bit of information. Oh, my hair is majestic. Thank you, though. Right. So, a little bit of information, like that person has a little bit of information on hair. They think that this is what hair is supposed to be. And so this and that. You see what I'm saying? People are just proving what we're saying. Democracy. You got a little bit, you got a degree of knowledge. There's 360 degrees in the circle. Stop bragging on your 1 degree. There's 12, there's what is it? The 15 degrees or the Song of Degrees in Psalm, starting the Psalm 120 through 134, the 15 degrees of the 15 steps. There's 33 degrees of knowledge when it comes to if you want to be a Mason. Like, stop thinking because you got 1 degree that you got knowledge. Right? Like, stop thinking because we have 1 degree, we got this knowledge. Like, you got 1 degree of knowledge and you're trying to say, I'm going to live off of that. You don't call yourself holy then, or don't call yourself whole, or don't you're holistic. Don't say that you're okay with being in one position for the rest of your life. I mean, to be a Mason means to be in the Masonic order. Right? I'm just saying, and all these things that you're talking about, when people talk about knowledge, salam. Yeah. Have you heard of them? But when we sit here, we say all this stuff. Oh, I know this. I went to this school. Blah blah blah. Okay, you got 1 degree. No, I'm not a Jehovah's Witness at all. I just said I stopped being a Jehovah's Witness when I was in my teens. My mother actually allowed me. She trusted in what she had taught me, and she said, "I trust you to be able to learn the truth." And one thing I'll give Jehovah's Witnesses a lot of respect for is that they will make sure that they study. Right? They study for sure. So I learned a lot of great study habits. I'm thankful and grateful. It's like the military, right? I'll say that I'm not with the military anymore, this and that or whatever, but I will tell you that they taught me to get up early. They taught me to grind. They taught me to be disciplined. They taught me the consequences of not being disciplined, right? So, I'm thankful and grateful for what they did. You said have I ever heard of the book you've ever heard of the book of those, and what do you think about it? Just a question. I don't know which book are you talking about? I'm sorry. What is my middle name? My name is Kofi Ofori. That is my name. Well, even in overstanding, watch this. Like, we so busy, and I get it, right? Overstanding is like an overcorrection that we made because we thought that understanding meant that we were somebody's doormat, right? But the reality is to understand means to have a standard. Everybody should have a standard that they're under. Like, if we as a diaspora got a standard together, we're busy getting all this stuff. Look, we got land. We have a continent. We have continents. We have all types of stuff that we can do. We make finances already. The standard needs to be there. Like, what if everybody for 1 year, right? What is there? Something like 39 or 42 million of us in the United States of America or whatever. The ones that admit to being what we would call Black or African American or Negro or whatever. if you were to take all those people and put them together, right, and we had a standard that said all of us will save $100 a month for 1 year, and then we'll purchase something together for our community. Like that standard would be what would bless you. You already got the income, but we don't have a standard, right? Nice WWE reference. Hopefully, you came from more than that, right? But we don't have a standard. That's the problem. We don't have a standard issue. We can't even issue things. We can't issue a decree because there's no standard. How do you have a standard issue if you have no standard, right? How do you have moral standards if there are no standards, right? There's got to be something that we understand. There has to be something that we're willing to submit, some mission that we have to submit to, right? Like we were trying our best just to see if we can get 30 families to come together this year. And we had a nice amount, but I don't even think we hit 20. Where we said, hey, can we just come together and save $100 a month? If we had 30 families, it's 30,000. That's a nice way to get some land out there where we can start something that's just for us, right? Like imagine sometimes we have up to 1,000 people on these lives. Imagine if 1,000 people came on here faithfully and every day, matter of fact, imagine this. Left-toi, live. Get an attitude together, sir. Your mom just needs to go through, okay? That's a toy, right? But imagine, yeah, amen. Yeah, we got to understand the standard, right? Like imagine if we had every person that came on every day, and I'm not saying we need to do that. I'm not even saying I want to do this. I'm not, because this time when we do it, we're going to do this more functionally, and we're going to focus mainly through fundraising and stuff, and if people want to give and keep giving, they can, right? But imagine if every time we came on, right, let's say every person who came on to a live, they said bare minimum, I'm going to give $1 a day. I'm not saying that's what I want. I'm not even going to give you the information to give if you don't have the information to give. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying, imagine if we just did that every day, everybody who comes on $1 a day, and we do that. And as soon as we hit, because we would hit it before we know it, as soon as we hit, we already got some money saved up. So as soon as we hit 100,000 combined with what we're making now, combine that together, what we're doing, then we go and we get land. You see what I'm saying? Like that's simple. That's simple. I've read some of the Emerald tablets and stuff like that, right? But that's simple. That's simplistic. But see, we're under somebody else's crusty government, and we only have a little bit of information. We are sitting there, people will say, I live paycheck to paycheck, but you can still get McDonald's almost every day. How do you live paycheck to paycheck, but you go out to eat every day? How do you live paycheck to paycheck, but you pay for food? Now imagine if you stop using a little bit of information and you said, I'm going to be greater than that. I'm going to be more than a conqueror. What am I going to do? I'm going to grow my own food. Right? Imagine if you grew your own food. Maybe you wouldn't live paycheck to paycheck as much. Now imagine you took some of that money, you invested it. If you can tie it to something, you can tie it to yourself. You better not be part of SOC and you tied to SOC, but you can't tie it to yourself. Salah. Pause and think about it. Right? Imagine. I feel like John Lennon out here. Right? Imagine though. Imagine you could do that. Right? Think about something that simple. Think about something that simple. Why are you saving that? Why are you giving $1? That's $30 a month, right? Or average out to a little less than $30 a month, right? Or a little more, whatever it is, right? But average about $30 a month, right? Just giving $1 every day that you came. If you don't come on day, you ain't have to give. But imagine you just gave. So that would be what? $1 a day. That'd be $365. Let's say there were an average of 500 people that were coming on. The average, let's say make it low. Average of 200 people came on every day, right? Out of 200 people, they gave 365. 365 times 200. What is that? I don't even, hold on. 365 times 200. Because 300 times 10 is what? 300 times 10, that'd be 3,000, right? 3,000 times 10, that'd be 30,000, right? Okay. So just with the 300, I didn't even add the 65 times, we already hit another 30,000. Like that's how simple this is, right? Now imagine if people said, man, you know what? Maybe I'll get more than $30 a month. Consistent, right? But we're not gonna do it that way this time. We're gonna do an actual fundraiser. We're gonna have some people count it, and we're gonna focus specifically on it. Matter of fact, we got the check to let y'all know. We got the check from what we did for the test of it finally. But when we get the check, they didn't even put the right name on it. So we're still a little leery. We might have to go a different route as far as fundraising, because they gave us the check, but it's not our name. So we don't know. Like, it's not a name of anybody part of the community. It's not Kofi's name. It's not SOC's name. We don't know what they did. But so that's just to give y'all an update on that. We're trying to figure out what in the world are y'all doing. How reputable are you? If you didn't get the name right, did you even send out the stuff that was ordered? You know, like, so we having some issues with that. So that's why we're taking. So, but I'm just saying, like, it's not as difficult as you might think. How you doing, Minister Joseph? How you doing, Sister Kendra? It's not as difficult as you might think, but it's a mentality thing. We have a small demo mentality, and we're governed by it. Democracy, right? We have a small demo mentality and government, right? So this is why we need to start thinking about being more than conquerors. Why are we trying to live like the conqueror? Why is your mentality saying that I need what the conqueror has? If I could just have a house, why not have land for many? I'm Constitution as well. Thank you, sir. How you doing? Is it Bori Prophet message? I think. How you doing? Thanks for being part of the community. Why is our mindset so small to where we think we have to live like the conqueror? Romans 8:37. You're more than the conqueror. Why do you live like the conqueror? If I'm more than the conqueror, why am I trying to live like the conqueror? If I'm more than the warmonger, why am I trying to say let's go to war? At least physical war. Right? If I'm more than a conqueror, why am I trying to have my marriage be built like the conqueror's marriage? See, even your marriage is democracy. You have a little bit of knowledge and you're trying to govern your household by it. Can't even talk to your husband. Can't even talk to your wife. Talking about you're going to start a community, but we can't even have husbands and wives that have dialogue. COVID came, 75% divorce rate, because people can't stand to live with each other. But we're supposed to see you're living like the oppressor, whether you're white, black, or whatever. You're living like the oppressive system. This oppressive system cares nothing about you, only cares about capital. That's why the number one reason for divorce is what? It's less capital. When we don't have enough money, we decide to get divorces. Because you live in capitalism. So your marriages reflect the society that you live in. How you doing, Sister Deborah? Miss Matt. You said then true, when I was married, my only enemy was her. Well, that speaks to the fact that we don't know what marriage is. Because if anything, the ride or die should be the husband or the wife. If anybody should get respect, it should be the husband. If anybody should feel secure, it should be the wife. That's not what we live by, is it though? You said oppressive system doesn't care about race. They make you care about it. Matter of fact, people care so much about it that they try to say that they're blind to it. I'm colorblind. Why would you be blind to something that you can see? Why is it that you can't be an Irish lass that has white skin and red hair, and I can say that you're beautiful for your community and your culture, just like my wife, who got nice hips and got nice Afrocentric vibe and hair and native things about her and stuff like that? Why can't I say that she looks beautiful too? I don't have to be blind, right? Like, I'm not blind to my wife in order to love her. I love what I see in my wife. I know there's more to her than just what I see, because I can look beyond what I see. And it causes me to press and strain to be greater, to be able to love my wife in the unseen. See, a lot of people can only love their spouse in what they see, but can you love them in the unseen? But see, if you only have democracy, a little bit of way of looking at it, a small, strained way, like you can only see like this, that you can't see the whole picture. So yeah, my wife is sexy. My wife is outstanding. I'm grateful to have my wife, for sure. Right? At the end of the day, though, I also comprehend that there are things eternally about her that go well past what I just see in the physical. But I can still honor what I see in the physical. See, it becomes these are moot points. Even, by the way, look up the word moot. Moot point, look it up in a Black's Law Dictionary. That actually has a meaning as well. Moot. What does moot mean? We say these things, we just don't know what they mean. Right? You hear what I'm saying? We say these things, we don't know what they mean. We say these things, we don't know what they mean because we don't know law. We don't know democracy. All we know is democracy a little bit. What they gave you was a little bit, and they governed you with it. You can say you're not in democracy. Yes, on paper you're not in democracy, but they do a little bit of people, 1% and 1% and 1% and 1% govern you by giving you a little bit of information. Yes. Once again, this is why we have become successful, is because all I do is give you a little bit more information. And I say, study it for yourself. Some people deny just a little bit more of information because they made it up in their mind. They're not even going to go past. They're not even going to go past their little bit. How you doing, Minister Tamara? They're not even willing to go past their little bit. They're okay with living in the little bit, just a little bit. They're okay with the little bit for the rest of their life. Somebody says, well, why don't you add a little bit on a little bit or a little bit or a little bit and stop being governed by the most minuscule? Think about that. We have people that are fighting to be governed by a small amount of information, fighting for it. I can only see Republican, fighting for it. I can only see Democrat, fighting for it. I can only see communism, fighting for it. I can only see white, fighting for it. I can only see black, fighting for it. I can only see China, fighting for it. I can only see misogyny, fighting for it. I can only see misandry, fighting for it. Last time I checked, you need both men and women to make this thing work. Why are you fighting for one over the other? And that's how y'all sound. That's why a lot of men can't listen to feminists and a lot of women can't listen to these red pill brothers. I wouldn't even call them brothers because a lot of them ain't my brother, but they can't hear you. Brothers, they can't hear you. They can't hear you. I'm on the live, sir. No, look at me. I'm on the live, sir. Okay. All right. They can't hear you. They can't hear you because you talk about your little bit so much. You got a man who speaks in respect. That's his love language. That's his main love language, if you will. I know we got the 5 love languages. I'm talking about as far as masculine. He speaks in a masculine manner. And he sees things through a respect phase. And when he says you don't hear him, he's talking about he doesn't feel respected. What he's saying is, if I feel that you would give me the same respect that you would give Oprah, or, you know, back in the day, I know he's back in the daytime, I don't listen to people now, but Oprah, Ricky Lake, Steve Harvey, Drew Barrymore, Kelly, whomever, if you gave me the same respect that you give them, even if you don't have to agree with everything I say, if you would just listen to me the way you listen to them, he said, I'd be cool. He's talking about respect. Your wife, about security. That's her number one need. She's not talking about, oh, you know, she's saying no, like when the rubber meets the road, are you willing to make sure? Go inside if you want to. You want to go inside? Okay. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead, go inside. Right? So, you know, these are things that we're not even paying attention to. Right now, if we can't make sure that our wife feels secure, how in the world are we going to make sure that our community feels secure? If you can't make sure that your husband, that your men feel respected, how in the world are we going to make sure that we have respect as a community? Right? I know you don't want to hear this because we're so busy going against each other. They got you so messed up that even in your own communities, they got you fighting amongst one another. But real talk, like the black community is the only place to where the black community, social construct, I get it. But the black community, or the Moorish community, if you want to go there, the indigenous community, whatever you want to bring up, we are some of the only people. Matter of fact, we are the only people on the planet. Hear what I'm about to say. We are the only people on the planet that will tell you that our men don't deserve respect. And we're the only people on the planet that will tell you that our women don't deserve to be secure. A little bit of information If you realize that little bit of information, it would go a long way in helping you to correct. We are the only people on the planet, especially those who are in North America and in Europe. We are the only people on the planet who have decided on a regular basis to tell everybody why it is important for us to realize that our men ain't and our women are bees. Only people. I'm not saying that there ain't somebody responsible about the feminist movement. While the feminist movement will tell you that that white women can't stand these white men, real talk, the white women are still married to the white men. They got it in your mind that you are part of the patriarchy and you need to fight against the patriarchy. But real talk, the patriarchy that they're fighting against, they still married to. Stop saying democracy. Okay, well, go somewhere else where you don't want to hear the term democracy. You're in a democratic republic. Democracy literally means a few people. Literally means a few people who are giving you a little bit of information who govern you with it. I know it's not written in the Constitution. And even if you're in a republic, the republic just means it's dealing with consuls instead of emperors. Okay? So stay with me. Or if you don't want to stay with us, just go somewhere else. But if you hear what I'm saying and get past the feelings of it and get past where it is, I'm giving you a different cultural perspective. If you end up not liking the perspective, you can always go somewhere else. Hey, how you doing, Minister Morrell? I was just thinking about you. I was going to try and reach out to you today, see how you doing. But these are the things we don't want to talk about. Like, this is real stuff. See, somebody comes in. I don't like the fact that you're saying democracy. It's not a democracy. It's a republic. Right? The little bit of information they saw governed their whole aspect. Came on here frustrated, ready to attack, ready to go ad hominem, don't have ears to hear. Because a little bit of information throws everybody off because all you live by is a little bit. Did you catch that? I didn't. They came on and heard a little bit of the conversation, governed them so much that they had to go ahead and start telling me how wrong I am. We've been on since 8 a.m. Eastern New York time. They coming on at 9:32, hour and a half into it. Heard a little bit of information, right? And made a decision off of it. See, once again, going back to your marriages, can't even talk to your spouse. How are you going to talk to somebody who's not even your spouse? I can tell that person probably has some pretty hard times in their marriage when their spouse doesn't agree with them, if they have a marriage, because you can't even hear somebody who's a stranger talk, right? Which usually is easier for you because you don't live with the stranger. So you usually give them more latitude, which is wrong, but that's what people do. You see what I'm saying? Like, if we can't get the things in our house, as for me and my house, I'm not worried about everybody else's house. Everybody else's house should function the way that their house functions. But as for me and my house, as for me and our people, we have a different way that we're headed. See that? So as for me and my house, here we go. There's no democracy. It's just an illusion. Have a great day. Cool. No problem. Right? You already have missed everything that we said. But thanks for stopping in, I guess, and making sure you said there's just an illusion, blah, blah. Or I guess we're agreeing. I don't know. I'm sorry. I don't want to put you in the same position I put the other person. That's unfair. Right? I might be doing some of that. I apologize. I really do. I honestly apologize. So we have to realize that when we're talking about democracy, see, the reason why people think democracy is a real thing, or people say it's an illusion, see, you think in your mind that democracy means you have the right to speak up as a people. You think that it means that you have a right to vote. What'd you say, sis? You said people live on the crumbs and we live on the daily bread. Wow. That's a word right there, sis. Right? But people think that democracy means that you get to vote. That's not a democracy. That's what you think democracy. You think democracy means people get to vote. And you living off the crumbs, like Minister Anisha said, but you're not living off the bread. Democracy has nothing to do with your vote. Democracy has nothing to do with your vote. You live in an autocracy. Certain things are automatic, sure. But you can live in a different system and that still be an autocracy. So certain things should be automatic when it comes to your culture that you live in. Right? But I'm focusing, see, before we go to the autocracy, the mobocracy, the republic, the idiosyncrasy, people don't even want to talk about that, right? All these different crises that you have. Cressy just means what governs you, right? And first things first, see, democracy is something that's dangerous because you think democracy means you have a vote. And you treat you treat your places like those of you who have places of worship, you treat those like a democracy too. You said democracy is the government side of the contract and the republic is the people's side. Does a republic? Okay, watch this. That's why we talked about the romantic government yesterday, right? Because you're living in a government that Rome, or really Greece formed technically, and even Greece got it from somewhere else, but Greece took it to the level that Rome, like the Etruscans as well, and now Rome is something that's still in charge because England runs stuff like Rome, and you run stuff like Rome out of England. World power is the same family, or at least not family, but the same family of faith, or the same family of belief, or the same family of law. But if we're gonna say that that's the case, who is in charge of a republic, right? Who's in charge of the republic? Aren't the consuls and the praetors and the magistrates and the pro magistrates and the proconsuls and the tribunes and the governors and all those people, aren't they all family? See, where are we getting this stuff? Do we even know where this stuff comes from? When you say governor, right? What did Romans, what did Greeks and Romans have? What did they do? What were governors for them? Matter of fact, let's fast forward some because that might be too difficult for some people. Right? Right? Yeah, facts. And all those people have money. They make money off the people. That's who in charge of the republic. The two consuls were just voted every year in, and they tried to get as much glory as they could for their part of the family before somebody else in their family got voted in. Yep, the polls, politics, they're just asking your opinion. They're not saying we're going to do what you say. You think when you vote in the polls, they're going to do what you say. A lot of y'all voted for Biden. You thought you were going to get reparations. Where your reparations at? A lot of y'all thought if y'all voted for Kamala Harris, she was gonna make it, black up in that piece, right? Where's all that blackness y'all were looking for? Kamala didn't even think she was black up until she was getting ready to run for president. She was Indian and proud of her Indian heritage. Oh, she went to an HBCU. I mean, there's white people that go to an HBCU. HBCUs aren't always all black. Matter of fact, they're not all black. They never have been always all black, for real. A lot of HBCUs were not even started by black people. You see what I'm saying? But we have this false sense of reality. We had this altered sense. Kamala Harris all of a sudden can come out when Black Panther comes out and says Wakanda forever because she knows she's going to start running for president. And now all of a sudden everybody says, I like her because she said what Disney said, right? Disney ain't concerned about your neighborhood, black, white, or otherwise. But everybody was like, we got to go and see Black Panther 7 times. We got to support it. We need to let them know that if they put black stuff out for us, we will go see it. Problem is you have people that have been trying to put black stuff out. Why wouldn't you support Master P? Or he was putting black movies out. Why? Oh, it doesn't have the same stuff or whatever. Yeah, he's trying to start something so that eventually you get the same thing that they have, but it'll be owned by you. But you love Tyler Perry. Why? Because Tyler Perry made sure that he demeaned himself. He was in a dress. He's very articulate, very smart, but he made sure he wasn't articulate. He wasn't very smart. He made sure that he hit certain things. He made sure that he gave you men that looked a certain way, right? He made sure that he always had the stereotypical black man that was rich, but he treated black women like nothing. And you had the other stereotype where it was a black man that really wasn't worth that much, but at least he loved you. He gave you the same thing over and over again. And now you supported him. And then guess what? He bought all this land and stuff. And I'm not saying he doesn't do anything for the community, but real talk, he bought all this land and we gave him credit for all the land. What if he had got land and just said we could live on it? But we're not concerned about that. We're only concerned about the little bit. Oh, support black. If it looks black, if it looks colored, if it looks Negro, if it looks African American, if it looks Native, if it looks like us coming out of slavery, democracy, small bit. Yeah, Master P was a genius with the steps he took. Whether folks saw it or not. Yeah, by the way, if you like the stuff that Snoop Dogg does, I'm not saying you got to love everything. How you doing? Protect your soul. I'm not saying you got to love everything that Snoop Dogg ever said or did. But if you like Snoop Dogg and how he has control over stuff and how he's buying death row now and he's doing a lot of different things and making sure people get money and he has people on staff, he literally hired somebody on staff that just rolls weed for him, makes like 40,000 or 50,000 a year or something like that, which to me is a little crazy, but whatever, right? He's giving jobs out. He's doing this. He's able to do this stuff or whatever. He's helping people. He does stuff for the community as far as football teams, different things like that. He helped Nipsey hustle along the way, all these different things. Well, if you like that, then you got to go back to Master P. Snoop Dogg, when he was thinking he was going to be killed by death row, by why am I forgetting my man, the blood, always dressed in red, never not dressed in red, just passed away recently, right? What's his name? Why am I forgetting his name? Guy that came on and said, if you want to be with somebody that always dancing in the videos, come see Death Row, something like that. What is my man's name? Suge Knight, right? Thought he was going to be killed by Suge Knight and everything. People were looking for him. Master P moved him out, said, you're going to come down where I am, bought a house for him and his family. And then Snoop was like, man, well, I'm going to have to do this. I'm going to have to be this and blah, blah, and this and that or whatever. Master P said, shut up. Told him this is what the music going to sound like. This is what's going to do. Gave Snoop his sound, attached it to the South, had him still making music and stuff, gave him for the first time his own ownership. He said, I want you to own your stuff. I'm not going to own your masters. I'm not going to own. He taught him how to do his own thing and then let Snoop go right back over when it was time, said, okay, time for you to go back. Right? That was somebody who was building stuff up. Yet people try to make fun of Master P. Why are we supporting other people when that's the heart of your people right there? I don't care if some of his stuff talk about shooting people and stuff like that. I do care, but I'm not. I care. I'm trying to say, like, he was doing more for some of these people than some of these pastors out here doing. Right? That's why people will go. That's why he can go anywhere in New Orleans. I've seen him in videos with people in New Orleans where people get mad at him because of what he's saying. He'll tell you, man, that's ignorant. That's stupid, man. Don't do that, blah, blah. Dude trying to pull out a gun, talking about what you say, trying to threaten him. And he don't even do anything. He said, man, put that away. And the guy put it back in his pocket because he got respect, because he stays connected to his community. Right? I'm sorry, you said Trump is a racist. We're not going to ignore his lineage of ignorance. We got receipts. Yeah, I mean, Trump is, and the interesting thing about Trump could probably care less about race, but Trump knows that it'll get us locked into fighting each other. Right? Like Trump, when it was something that was going to get Trump what he needed, he was talking about he was a Democrat. Right? I'm old enough to remember that. Y'all should be old enough to remember that. Wasn't that long ago that he was talking about Republicans are stupid and dumb. Now all of a sudden he became a Republican. Now he says he's better than Republican. He's the super Republican. So now it's, are you going to vote Democrat? Are you going to vote Republican? Are you going to vote Tea Party? Are you going to vote Trump? You see what I'm saying? Like, it's and he could care less. He just wants to become president. He wants to control. He's a corporation that's going to come out of control. By the way, this is nothing new. Mitt Romney, when he was running, that's a corporation. He owns a bunch of stuff. Mitt Romney made his money. Like, for example, the reason why Toys R Us went bankrupt is not because Toys R Us wasn't having great business. Mitt Romney was part of a company. He's on a board of a company. He might be the CEO. I'm not sure, but I know he's basically buy up companies. And then they on purpose make it, they buy companies, but they have the company basically set up to where the company has to pay them a certain amount of money. And they make it difficult for the company to pay them money. And as soon as the company can't pay the money, they say, well, you're in debt to us. So even though you're making to pay us back for what we bought or whatever. So therefore, we'll just go ahead and let you go bankrupt. We'll let you go away. And then we'll make money off of your going bankrupt. That's why Toys R Us doesn't exist. Mitt Romney was running for that. That's a corporation. Joe Biden's attached to China just as much as Mitch McConnell is married into China and married into the communists. Don't be surprised if you got Mitch McConnell, who I don't even know if he's in Congress anymore, but if you got Mitch McConnell and Joe Biden already married into and making money off of the Chinese American connection, why in your mind are you thinking that you got to fight against China? If you're fighting against China, then you got to fight against America. Yeah, everybody's in cahoots. These are the things that we're not talking about, but we're so busy in democracy. They give you a little bit of information and they govern you by it. Voting really gives you no option, because either way, you're going to get somebody from this family in. Every president has either been by blood attached to the same family, or every president has been married into, bare minimum, the same family or adopted it to. There's not one president that's not part of the same family. And these presidents set your precedents. Grand Rise in our world, how you doing? Right? These presidents set your precedents. That's what they do. These presidents set your precedents. Yeah, thank you very much. We do often on here. Thank you so much for telling us again that we need to make sure we take care of the orphans and the widows. Appreciate it. We literally just going into another, getting ready to go into another coat drive, and getting ready to, but getting ready to continue to give. And thank you for those who've given to people to make sure their families are taken care of. But thank you for the reminder. Appreciate it. Right. So, right. So we're getting into this place where we're not realizing democracy. People realize that they have a little bit demo and Cressy government. You've been given a little bit of information and you've been told to govern yourselves by it. You've been given a little bit of information, been told to govern yourself by it. You can't even think holistically in a holy fashion, in a whole fashion, in a fashion that is one. Hear, O Israel, Yahweh Elohim, Yahweh Elohim, Aleph, Achaba, Yahweh, right? Aleph, Lab, right? Aleph Sakeh, or like in other words, Hear, O Israel, Yahweh Elohim is one, Adon, or one Lord, and you must love him with all the heart, all the soul, all the mind, and all the strength. That's the first of all commandments. Second, like it is to love your neighbors, you love yourself. The oneness piece. A part of one is not one. And that's the problem, is a lot of us are a part of one. We're a part of one. We don't want to be one. You rather be a part of one. You rather know a part of one truth. You rather love with a partial love. I'll love those that love me. No. You love or you love not. No, man, I ain't gonna love those that are fine, and your enemy loves those that love them. So don't act like you're better than your enemy. Man, people come on here and they say this, man, if it was my live, I'd be telling them off. I'd be telling them, but then you ain't ready to have a live, at least one that's going to be effective. All you're going to do is separate. If truth separates, let truth separate, but you don't separate. See, people hear me mention a color and they go into a place of, oh, I hate this lie. You're this, you're a reverse racist. It's like all you heard was a color. If you're going to separate yourself because you heard a color and not even realize that I'm probably your best, I'm an Israelite who realizes who he is and doesn't mind saying that if you can get yourself together, you can be grafted into. I'm probably the best person to have on your side, but a lot of past what? A lot of people can't see past, oh, he's a black person. He says he hates white people. Oh, it's only a matter of time before he talks about Edomites. I don't talk about none of that. But because you can only get a demo, a piece of it, you govern yourself by that piece. Instead of having that peace that surpasses all understanding. See, to be holistic means that I have PEACE, right? But to be a partial means that I have to have a PIECE. My PEACE is stronger than a PIECE. How do you deal with these people, Kofi? And this and that or whatever. I deal with them because, first of all, I don't deal with them. I love them. I'm able to love them because I have PEACE. I'm whole in my presentation. I don't come with opinion. Second, I come with opinion. I got to come with only PIECE because my opinion is only as big as myself. But my peace comes from somebody that's bigger than me, my PEACE. You catch it? You catching it? Right? If you want some PEACE, then stop living off of a PIECE. They sound the same, but they ain't the same. To some people, it might look the same, but they don't work the same, right? A lot of you got a PIECE. This is what my mama taught me. Well, love to your mama. No disrespect. Your mom might be wiser than I am. I'm talking about the source that you get your stuff from. Is your source of peace or is your source peaceful? See, even a piece of peace is not cool. I need to be full of peace. You call that peaceful. Peace is your spiritual Glock. Yeah. Like my weapons of warfare are not carnal. Right? Don't get it twisted. I need to protect my family. I got something for somebody inside. Right? But I don't run around like that. You know why? Because the situations I'm in, they are full of peace. Right? When we went to the Canadian border, they told me if I had weapons, I could have brought them over. And I told them, yeah, I got weapons, whatever, but they're not with me. They were like, well, if you had them, you could have came. That's not the issue, right, for me. But at the same time, I didn't travel with them. Why? Because where I was going, it was a place of peace. Even though we were going to Detroit, and some might say even one of the bad places in Detroit or whatever, but we went up there. We were able to look beyond what we see. And we were able to press and strain, and we're going to hashtag finish strong and living inside of that which we have pursued. We're going to. Now we might not be. It would be nice if we could. We're going to. You know why? Because we don't just have a peace, but we have a PIECE, but we have a peace that surpasses all understanding. PEACE, right? And so if you want true peace, PEACE, you're going to have to come to a place where you start saying, "Hey, I've got to be greater than just a government that gives me pieces of the equation." Right? You can't be a government that tells me stop being a victor. I mean, stop being a victim, but they don't tell you the truth that in order to be a victim, you got to have victors. So victors create victims, right? Victors create victims. So if you want me to be a victor, you're saying that you want me to create victims. Why do you want me to create victims? You hear what I'm saying? Why is it that you want to be a conqueror when you should be more than a conqueror? Why do you want a piece of it? Conquerors only get a piece of it. If somebody thinks they should conquer a person, they are somebody that only has a piece of it. They think that only their piece is relevant. That's why you have the doctrine of discovery. You say all the time, how is it that somebody can discover a country that somebody lives on or some land that somebody lives on? It's because that they said that you are not even a human being. Only their piece matters. They have to make you less human so that they would be able to have your piece. PIECE. And when they get your piece, PIECE, you think because, hey, somebody has conquered, that means that they have taken over. So you lose your PEACE. The reality is, though, is if that you're more than a conqueror, it's only a matter of time before that thing cracks up. Oh, thank you, Henry. And it should. Our being humble, our being meek, our being secure in who we are should really mess people up. It should anger people because people in the world, they want to conquer you. And if the person who conquers you, they swear they did everything they could to us. They moved us, they removed us, they redistributed the boundaries of our lands. They killed off a bunch of our people. They created chemical warfare. They taught some of their own people that disagreed how to stop disagreeing with them and think that they were white and they had security over us and stuff as well. They did a number on the entire planet. And yet they weren't able to stop us from having this conversation. That's the greatest weapon. We may not realize it, we might not like it, but that's one of our greatest weapons, is that I'm still here. You know, you're right. I should be torn apart. I shouldn't have this knowledge. I shouldn't be able to teach this. I shouldn't be able to give more information. I shouldn't be able to do this every day and somehow, some way, while going over the same thing over and over again, still be able to give something else and put it on top of it. I shouldn't be able to have time to study. I shouldn't be able to have time to study myself. I should have been dead and gone. You're right. All of it should have happened. Yet somehow I'm still here. Greatest weapon. Right? After all that, we still have love. After all that, when you can't treat your correctly, I'll still love you because I have peace that surpasses all understanding. See, you stand under all this other foolishness, but what I stand under surpasses everything you stand under. Exactly. We got that 100% survival rate. How many of you raise your hand if you haven't survived? Been through the fire, came out wet. I like that one. I don't think I've heard that one before. I like that one. Right. But there's not a thing that you've been through yet. If you look back over your life, there's something that you could say, I shouldn't have made it through that. Even as a child, just playing, man, I was playing here and I fell and this and that happened and I shouldn't have made it and blah, blah. The doctor said I wouldn't walk again. I was born. The doctor said I wouldn't be able to make it. The doctor said I would only make it to age 5. And here I am at age 25. Right. Like all these different things, like you have to be able to say, See, and even when people say the stuff that they're saying, you can see people in the comments, saying ad hominem, right? It's because they don't have anything to say of value, at least. Because I decide that I don't have to look like them. Once again, though, that's that democracy. They have a small view of humanity, and they're governed by it. See, be more than a conqueror. Be more than those people who can't see, look beyond what they see. And even if you look at me, here's the wild part. Why do you think that a black person who lets their hair grow, just like if a white person would let their hair grow, why do you think that that black person, right, who's letting their Afrocentric hair or even indigenous hair flow, why would you think that that makes somebody homeless? It's because you live in a society where somebody says that if they allow themselves to grow, then they must be unhealthy. My hair is not unkempt. My hair is locked. I'm not out here with stains all over my shirt. I'm not out here with a jacket that, is you know what I'm saying? But somebody saw, once again, they can't look beyond what they see. They saw a color. I think you should see the color. You should love the color, but can you even look beyond that? See the mindset? Exactly. And if you grow or act natural, it's not conducive as far as commerce, as far as commercial stuff. And who runs this world? Democracy. Who runs your world? Corporations, people that sell you things. See, Chanel would look at me and be like, "Oh, we can't have him represent us." Right? That's what would happen. Chanel would look at me and be like, "He can't represent us because he doesn't look like somebody that would wear Chanel." Well, you're absolutely right. I don't support Chanel. But why is it that I don't look like it? Because I look like my culture. See, in their culture, sex sells. If I came on here, was clean shaven, made sure that I was wearing something, and made sure that I had the six pack, and made sure that I was doing this with dollars, and doing this with dollars and stuff like that, and everything or whatever, they'd be like, that person would have no problem with me and would listen to my false way of living and my idiotic way of living. But if I come on here and I give you the truth and I'm myself, that person literally is doing their best to tear that apart because of this romantic society, the romantic government. The people who are romantic, they lead your society. Yeah. And in the society, my wife is right. You have to make someone feel insufficient to have control over their actions. See, and that's why I say it, right? And somebody just said it, the way that we act, the way that we humble ourselves, the way that we do these things. And it's the attack on their society. How dare you come on here and not look like we say you're supposed to look? That's what democracy is. We've told you this is what we govern you by. You should look like this. And I come on here and I say that my family can be well and not look like anything you say we have to. That's one of your greatest weapons. You said many are afraid to be their true and authentic selves, including you. Sometimes I am myself. I'm getting better every day at being it. I'm not 100% there myself. You said it's always a gift to share it with someone else that's present. That's a present, yeah. How you doing, Dennis? So this is the reality. Like, we don't want to have conversation about it, but people are living that's great. We have people that are living in false realities, right? That are living on these false senses of pride. What is your pride? Is your pride and your value in how much money you make? Because your money is supposed to be current anyway. It's supposed to go in and come out. Why would you put so much stock in something that can be here today and be gone tomorrow? It's supposed to do that. People talk about, we're in recessions or depressive states and stuff like that. Reality is money is a current. It's supposed to flow in and flow out. Right? It's supposed to flow in and flow out. Right? Why are we putting so much stock in something that might not be there tomorrow? If you have it today, use it today to get something that will be there tomorrow. If you got the money, get the land. Right? If you got the money, get the land. Because when tough times hit, the land helped us. When money wasn't coming in right, the land was a big help. Having a place to stay and not having to pay rent, that's a big help. You see? Different mentality. That's the reason why we're having a problem. Like 9 to 5 is not necessarily your biggest problem. The goal should be to be able to get away from 9 to 5 at some point. Right? But 9 to 5 is not your biggest problem. Biggest problem is the paycheck to paycheck. Start thinking as more than a conqueror. Conquerors go, I got this check, let me conquer the check. Okay, I'll wait to the next check, let me conquer that check. I'll wait to the next. More than conquerors think more than that. Right? That's just a little bit of information. Think about this. How many, we say this often, but I just want you to get it again. How many of you who've been listening to us for a while, you heard what Bada Shat meant, and it changed your perception of the word of Yah? Never knew what it was, never had it taught to you, but that's your culture. Bada Shat. 6 characters. It's the actual name of Genesis. Genesis is the Greco-Roman version of it, right? Which is talking about the genealogy. They're focusing on genealogy only. But Badashat is talking about in beginning, but also with 6 characters. Those 6 characters mean what? Bet, Aleph, Resh, Shin, Yod, Tav. Meaning the son who comes out the right family, who's one with the Father, becomes our head by being destroyed, being led by the Holy Spirit to the Tav, to the mark, to the place it's finished, to the cross. First word. Badashat changes your whole perspective on what you're reading. Right? So those who had democracy, you were being governed, right, by that Nicolaitan doctrine, that Nikos laity, that conquerors who are over lay people, right? You were being governed by that. They just said, focus on Genesis and focus on the genealogy we tell you. And that was your focus. But you know what the first word means. Now you open up a whole thing. Because now when somebody tries to say Old Testament, New Testament, which didn't exist, somebody wrote that in, then you have to say, well, wait a minute, time out. Then why does Badashat show up in Genesis? And it also shows up in John. Right? Where did I learn that word? I learned that word through my culture, through my people. I also learned it through Jewish teachers, if that makes it better, even though they use a modern Hebrew, but they still had to agree that modern Hebrew has to support the ancient. I learned it through, study. I learned it through characters. I'm a teacher, so I teach all those things. Yes, I believe in the Apocrypha. I believe in the Apocrypha because the Apocrypha is mentioned in the Bible. I believe in right? There's certain things that Christ says that you won't find anywhere in the Bible, but you find it in the Apocrypha. Right? I believe in the land of Azeroth. You know why? Because Christopher Columbus believed in it. You know why? Because Queen Isabel believed in it. You know why? Because the Pope believed in it. And you know why? Because that's what they went looking for. And you know why? They looked for it because it was in 2nd Esther chapter 13, verses 40 through 45. I haven't seen the latest Messiah. At the end of the day, the Messiah has already come for us. So anybody else is falling into Antichrist. I don't really pay attention. But I mean, maybe I'll come across it at some point. You said, I'm taking our last money and moving to the mountains off grid, but have been told that you can't. Well, make sure that you do everything lawfully. Right? Just make sure you do everything lawfully. As long as everything's done lawfully, there's nothing that nobody can stop you with. Right? If you can find, you can find a way to make that happen lawfully, for sure. Right? Just look up the laws, look up some case study and stuff. You'll find that it'll be a lot easier for you than probably what you think. Do I know about Geno Jennings, Apostle Geno Jennings? Sure. Thanks for being part of the community, Egyptian Princess. How you doing? Right. So I'm just saying this democracy, a little bit governs you. A little bit governs you. A little bit governs you. It's time to stop being governed off of something that's a little piece and it start having holistic peace in the one who knows all, who is whole, knows all. Become one with him. That's the goal. That's the mandate. Right. That's that, and that's even what's become somewhat problematic in our societies. We're who do you follow? Who's saying this? What version of Christianity or followers of the way or Hebrew Israelites or whatever, right? What are you Sunni? Are you Shiite? Are you there? Are you there? Like, first things first, like, what's going to happen to make us whole? I'm not talking about one world religion or one world order that's coming up, but you must comprehend at the end of the day, even if you believe in the Bible, it says what? At some point, every knee will bow of things of the earth, things on the earth, things in the earth, and every tongue will confess that Yahshua Mashiach Adon, that he is Lord. There's coming a time, right? No weapon formed against me shall prosper, and every tongue that rises against me it shall be condemned. Well, thank you for being on. Appreciate it. I don't know if is it Elena or Yelena? I'm not sure. But thank you for being on with us. Appreciate it. Right. So you got to get to a place where this democracy, a little bit of stuff that's there to govern you, are you willing to stop being governed by just the small amount? Or do you want a whole amount? Do you want a degree of knowledge, or do you want 360 degrees? Do you want a slice of pie, or do you want the whole pie? Right? Do you want just your tribe, or do you want all tribes? See, now you got to open up. Right? Do you want to learn the Bible through the perspective of the person who tried to conquer those people? Or do you want the Bible written by the people who are more than conquerors? See, I'm sorry, you said I don't believe in the Bible, but I do believe in the four agreements. Okay, that's fine. But even in the four agreements, if you talk about the Bible and the four agreements, a lot of us are going to go off on the wrong tangent of them, or you're going on a tangent of it rather than the proper interpretation, because we're not dealing with proper law. Once again, you got kingdom law, marital law, universal law, natural law, substantive law, public and private law, remedial law, procedural law, common law, law of equity, law of admiralty, maritime law, law of attraction. But those laws are there to protect rights. So even in those, like, we got to, which way are we dealing with it? Which way are we going to deal with those first? Right? Are we going to deal with perspective? You know what I'm saying? Like, what's the perspective? Right? What's the perspective? So I know I'm grabbing something that's real quick version of it, right? I comprehend that, but when we look up the four agreements, right? And we look up these four agreements, I'm just going to look up, I know there's a whole bunch of different ones. I'm just going to find, there's one that's talked about, there's one that's talked about Don Miguel or whatever, right? Like, when you talk about the four, oh, my bad. I didn't realize TikTok got paused. Sorry, y'all. I didn't realize that I got paused again. Right. I'm dealing with a bunch of charger issues this rising, having to share charges between all these different devices. Right. But when we talk about these things, so in the four agreements, be impeccable with your word. In the Bible, does the word count, and should it be treated correctly? Right. Matter of fact, it does say that. Yahshua HaMashiach himself, he says that Matthew chapter 5, verses 17 through 20. He says that I came not to destroy the law, right, which is spoken, but I came that it might be fulfilled. Verse 18, he says we shouldn't change one jot or tittle. That means the most minuscule of measurements, nor the way it's written. It should be impeccable, right? Verse 19, anyone who says that you shouldn't live by the law is actually considered to be the least. And anybody who lives by the law and teaches how to do so is considered to be the greatest in the kingdom. And then what is it? Verse 20, it says that you should know the law greater than the scribes and Pharisees. Your word should be impeccable, right? Second one. I don't know if I'm going to order, but I'm just going to put a second one out there. Don't take anything personally. Yahshua Mashiach, the same Yahshua, right in the same Sermon on the Mount, Matthew chapter 5 now. Matthew chapter 5, verse, we're in Matthew chapter 5 before, verse 17 through 20. Matthew chapter 5, verses 10 through 12 says specifically, if people come against you because you're representing a word that's impeccable, right? And it's something that represents somebody greater than yourself and something universal, and they try to make fun of you and say all manner of evil against you, then by all means, allow them to do so. Matter of fact, rejoice and be exceeding glad, because they did the same thing to prophets that came before you. Number 3, don't make any assumptions. We surely shouldn't. That's why we should make sure that we meditate on his word day and night, and make sure that we don't assume that we know everything, right? Even when it comes to other people. Matthew chapter 7 now, we should make sure that we take that, before worrying about the splinter in somebody else's eye, you should take that 2x4 that's out of yours. Right? Stop assuming that you know everything that's going on. Stop assuming that you know how to pray. Stop assuming that you should be forgiven when you haven't even forgiven somebody else. Don't make these assumptions, right? And then always do your best. Always do your best. That's why you're there to be covered. Always do your best. Even if you feel like you're poor in spirit, the kingdom of heaven still belongs to you. That's back to Matthew 5, now verse 3. Even if you feel like you are crying and you're mourning, guess what? You shall be comforted. Do your best. Push through. Even if people say, that revile you and say all manner of evil against you, always rejoice and be exceeding glad. If somebody says that you always hungering and thirsting for something, keep hungering and thirsting, because the things that you hunger and thirst for, do your best. Keep hungering and thirsting, because you shall be filled with the very things that you've been seeking. So when somebody says, I'm about the 4 agreements, you're trying to separate something. Why are we separated? That would be my question. Now, why are we trying to say we got to have a PIECE, a peace? See, I've cornered the market in my life on the 4 agreements, but somebody says, well, I can't listen to the Bible. We're saying, sound like we're saying the same thing. I don't disagree with making sure that you're impeccable in your speech. I don't disagree making sure that you don't take things personally. I don't take it personal that you say you should make assumptions. I don't take it personal when you say make sure you're doing your best. My whole thing is, if you're going to do your best, why not go to somebody who created you? If you believe in the universe literally means a single spoken sentence. Why would you not go to the person that spoke that sentence into existence, and therefore spoke you into existence, so that you can be your best? Why would you assume, right? Like, some people do things like this. I'm not talking about the person who made the statement. I'm just saying in general now. Why is it that people assume that they say, oh, man wrote the Bible, so since man wrote the Bible, I don't like to think the way that things, or I don't like to do stuff because a man wrote it. But it's like a man wrote evolution. A man wrote the Big Bang. Matter of fact, the Big Bang is based off of the story that they changed up to make all the Greek deities and deities go together. So the Big Bang actually came from Gaia. Gaia was the Big Bang. In the beginning, there was nothing, and then boom, Gaia exploded. And then Gaia, out of herself, birthed Neptune and Firmament, and then Firmament and Gaia had sex. Neptune allowed the Earth to rise out of him, and then Gaia and Neptune's babies came upon the Earth, the Titans, and so therefore and so on. Right? Like, why would you agree to that? Or why would you say, you know what I'm saying? Like, why is it that we make assumptions that not even putting that together? Like, the Big Bang is actually more Greek. That's why all these stars and all your suns and all your moons and all the stuff that people come up with, they keep giving them names of Greek and Roman deities. Sometimes they sprinkle a little bit of Norse theology in there as well. Right? But why, even the term goodbye, like, people don't know the word good means God. It's a Germanic deity. So good is God, Godspeed, good speed, guten Tag, good day, good morning, God morning, the morning of the God, right? Literally the MOURNING, morning of the God, is popping up when the sun starts to come up less and less, but when it starts to come up more and more, you say, oh, it's a good morning, it's a God morning. We were mourning the things that the bad God did when he made it dark, but now the good God's coming out. Like, these are things. But goodbye, it actually means like God. It's basically a I forget what you call it, but they combined all these words together. Goodbye literally means God be with you, or God be with ye. That's why at the end, the ye, right? It's like God good, be, the letter be, and then it's like with ye, ye. God be with ye, right? So they even and they when people say like good speed, goodbye, you're saying this God be. You're talking a culture. You're speaking a language. I don't have a problem with astrology. I'm just saying we should know the stuff that is attached to it. So people say I'm with the 4 agreements and stuff, but it's like, well, what do you agree to? Is it impeccable? God be with you, and then say, well, you don't even believe in a God, but you say God be with you. Be impeccable with your word. Then stop using the term God. God, which is part. So why not, if that's what you believe? Guten Tag, good speed, Godspeed, good day, God's day. Adieu, right? Go with God, right? I bid you adieu, right? Or God day, good speed, goodbye, right? Grand rising to you, still unbroken, right? These are things that we have to recognize and realize, right? We got to change our thinking. We have to say, wait a minute, some of this stuff that we're living by, where did it come from? How can I be impeccable with my speech if I won't be impeccable with the word that was fine before the word was defined? You said the Bible has its origins in astrology. Problem with that is before you started calling, like, okay, which star is called Yahweh? Which star is called Yashua? Which star is called Ravakakwadash? See, whose Bible are you talking about? Are you talking about this rewritten form, this Greco-Roman form, or are you talking about the actual original? See, I don't wrestle against flesh and blood. I wrestle against principalities. That's kingdom origins. If it's the original word, let's have a conversation about that. If we're talking about the tampered thing, well, yeah, we could talk about that, but we're talking about somebody else's idiosyncrasies and ideologies being formatted in such a way to where you think it's a profound statement, and they want us to believe it's a profound statement to clarify things through their Latin conversation that really is giving love to a bastardized version of Cushitic and Kemetic principles that now they're trying to give you bastardized versions as well as Etruscan and somewhat Greek principles to be able to make it romantic, right? Astrology is something that you can look at, and astrology existed before you had to say, that was the North Star. Astrology existed before that. Astrology existed before, human beings existed. You said Jehovah or Yahweh wouldn't just tell someone bye because they're being impatient. Okay, Stacy, I don't comprehend that. When did I tell somebody bye? Are you saying that somebody muted you? And by the way, don't worry. I see you, Minister Tamara. Stacy, if you don't mind, don't worry about. Hold on, please let Sister Stacy, who's on, Sister Stacy, no problem. You have my attention now, right? I didn't mute you. Yeah, the moderators did, and they're trained to. So, what was it that you said in such a nice manner? Since you're speaking in a nice manner, right? Since you're speaking in just a nice manner and everything, what is it that you said in such a nice tone that we just immediately got rid of you for whatever you're saying? What is it that needs to be said by you so we can make sure that we honor what you need to be said? Or are you talking about from another day? Because now somebody's saying you might not even been muted today. But either way, let's go ahead and give you your rightful place as a human being. What is it that you need to say to make sure that we comprehend things better? Not you, others. You learn from. You said someone was asking a question too many times. What was the question they were asking then, Sister Stacy, if you don't mind? Now, I'm not trying to come at you. This is stuff we need to do. If we're gonna bring up the negative, like you guys just mute people for no reason. Okay, what were they? What was it that we were muting for no reason? So we can make sure that we don't bring it up again. And we'll be careful. Like, let's not do it where it sounds like we're coming on as bullying or this and that or whatever. We just want to go ahead and hear what it is. So I got it. Please don't worry about, muting or saying or whatever. You said they were asking what Bible should be recommended. Okay, I didn't see that at all. Come on there. I guess you're saying that that's all the person was saying. If that's all the person was saying, I guess we shouldn't have muted them. I don't know if that's what all the person was saying, but okay. Or maybe they were saying it over and over again, and I didn't catch it. So you feel like she was attacked. Okay. Well, if that person's still on and able to hear, or if you want to go to that person and make sure that they're not attacked, since that's what you feel. Um, the same thing that I say each time. I don't really worry about the version of the Bible that you read. I worry about the culture that you have. Right now, if somebody repeated it for 20 minutes and stuff, then yeah, people get aggressive and abrasive. Like if you put it like this, Sister Stacy, and I'm gonna answer the question, but let's just have conversation and dialogue, and let's not go into democracy where a little thing is going to govern the whole thing. But let's deal with this, if we might. If you're talking to somebody else and your child, I don't know if you have a child or not, but if your child were to be like, mama, 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 like you might deal with the child, but then says, mama, mama, like I'm talking to somebody on the phone, mama, 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 mama. I don't know if you go 20 minutes, but maybe you say that's not what was happening. Either way, though, as far as the Bible is concerned, or any version of the Bible you're talking about, I'll say the same thing I say all the time. It's about culture first. I could care less what version of it. I could care less what version of it. If you don't know the culture, then you're not going to comprehend it anyways. Right. So that's what I would say. But if you say that somebody was only asking what version of the Bible, yeah, I mean, like people have come on here and been like, answer my question, answer my question, answer my question, answer my question. People have come on here and said like, oh, you're wise, you're wise, you're wise, you're wise, you're wise. Like some of this is antagonizing. Right. So the moderators, they've been doing this, some of them for years now. We're family, and we also know certain things to look out for where people have literally lied on us and had us taken down and shut down and stuff for a little bit. That's hence why we have 4 Kofi underscore footy channels. So there's things that we look for, and maybe you're not worried about looking for them or trained to look for them because it's not something you're as used to yet. But stick around long enough, you'll see that people find creative ways to do stuff. There's people that come on here and say quite a bit. Not everybody's using ad hominem in the same manner, but hopefully that's something that you could have. At the end of the day, hopefully that helps. If it's something that doesn't help you or something that you don't want to hear or something you think is still wrong, how we're thinking, sure. You said she asked. Yeah, I saw her ask that. I'm a human being. I apologize. If somebody's asking me a question, I'm answering it or I'm going through something. Sometimes I won't stop for every single comment. I'm not the most high. I apologize. Right. But now, if go to that next question or whatever, right? I did see. I apologize. I'm not going to stop for every single question. I can't. I'm a human being. Right. That's why we have a lot of stuff recorded too. If there's some stuff I don't get to, look on the recordings, type in stuff on our channel, see if you can find something that actually represents your question. Right. There's probably an answer there. Right. However, so just give me time. I'm sorry. This is part of the breakdown too. Like we have to break this down, unfortunately, because people think that I'm being mean or we're using somebody else's cultural perspective. You didn't answer this. You didn't do this. This person didn't do this. Why does this person get blocked? Like there's a lot of stuff that goes with it, right? However, what was the question again? Now I'm talking about all these different things. Oh yeah. So what do I mean by culture? What do I mean by culture? Everything that you deal with, it has a culture. Right? What is a cultural perspective, right? A cultural perspective is about the perspective of a society. So if you're going to talk about anything, you have to talk about its culture. Where did it come from? Okay. If I talk about a culture, where did it come from? Right. So if you're going to talk about a culture, this is where, so for example, we use these examples all the time. We just used this one earlier. What is a platonic relationship? It's because why do you have platonic relationships? Because Plato said that males 40 something years old should mess with little boys. Therefore, there's platonic relationships. He put more stock into that than he did marriages. So a lot of people, even when you get married, you'll say, hey, I still have my friend. We have a platonic relationship. We don't even know where it comes from. We talked about earlier, Sigmund Freud, anal retentive. Sigmund Freud was somebody that messed with little children, little boys specifically, and believed that little children, when they were born, wanted their father to have anal sex with them. But since the father wouldn't, they went to the mother. The mother couldn't provide what they wanted, so they always had an attitude because they were always around their mother. So you think of anal retentive, you don't even think of the fact it has a culture behind it. There's something that's there, right? Even a gender, a jancha or a gender literally means the style in which somebody's male and female go by in their culture. So every tribe technically could have a different gender, right? But it's not the same as male or female, right? So just because somebody says all genders should be respected, sure. But what you're saying then is technically all tribes should be respected, which means that if in my tribe we say husband, wife pre-qualified before marriage, and we teach you as a child from ages 0 to 3 to be a male or a female, then that should be just as respected as when you want my child to go to a school, which they don't, I homeschool. But if you want my child to go to a school, right, and have them be told that they shouldn't even have a gender title or a gender assignment or be male or female or whatever, well, my perspective should be just as represented, should it not? Right. So that's what we're talking about when we're talking about culture. Everything that you deal with is a culture, right? Like everything you're dealing with is a culture. And it's not about, like all of it. I'm ignorant on a lot of things. So don't do that to yourself, right? Like I'm not trying to say I'm better or worse than anybody else. I'm just trying to say there's cultures attached. If you talk about prison, for example, America is a prison colony. That's how it started. Australia is a prison colony. That's how it started, correct? So if I've got a prison colony in America, if I've got a prison colony in Australia, then guess what? I shouldn't be surprised when both of them did similar things to the indigenous people because they had criminal behavior. It's a culture, right? Like, you see what I'm saying? If I'm Tisalagi, which is Cherokee, Tisalagi actually has a mindset and a definition that says it's the people of Yah. Our cousins, the Choctaw people, their original name, it breaks down to the children or the people who are of the skirts. Also, we know that in Cherokee land, they found, and it's still in DC, in the not an armory, in the I always forget what they call it. Not the museums, but whatever the thing is that the museums have all their stuff in or whatever, right underneath that subway station, all that there, right off of 7th and is that Constitution or 7th and something over there, Independent, 7th and Independent, something like that. But you'll see that they have under like they have stuff that literally is that was in native land hundreds of years before Columbus and them came over to Hispaniola, which you call Hispaniola, but was not called before they got there. And in Hispaniola, they brought Hebrew interpreters with them and they had a conversation, right? You're talking about a culture, but people don't want to talk about this stuff culturally. Why is it that we talk about things from the culture of the oppressor? The Smithsonian, yes, but it's like the Smithsonian something, something, something. And I can't remember what it is, but yeah, the Smithsonian, right? So we don't want to acknowledge that. Also, too, if you're going to talk about like Jamaica and stuff like that, and why they say we're the people of Jah, with Jamin, right? Well, Jah is a play on the word Yah. The letter J came into existence after the letter Y did. The letter J is still a new letter. There was no letter J in the Hebrew alphabet. But you have people who came over on ships who were part of the people of Yah. That's why you have names like Isaiah, Ananiah, Hazariah, Deborah. Rah is a little different. I'm sorry, but you have that sound at the end. You have Yasayas, which is actually Isaiah. That's what you say, or Esaias, right? You have all these different things. If my people who are called by my name, there's a culture attached. And people don't want to talk about the culture. How you doing, Miss Pierce? There's a culture attached. Hezekiah, right? Hezekiah, right? It's even like Hazayak or something like that. But but these are the things that we don't deal with. Or what about even Jerusalem? Yah Ra Shalom or Yah Ra Salam. You're talking about Yah's place of peace, right? It's a culture. You know what I'm saying? People say, oh, well, these people are so, everybody that believes in the Bible, they hate women and they're so misogynistic and it's part of the patriarchy. The Bible's not part of the patriarchy. Problem with that is, sis, is that in the Bible, women were respected. Matter of fact, the term woman in our culture actually was a term of endearment. That's why Yahshua said to his own mother, right? He said to his own mother, woman, it's not yet my time. Why did he say woman? Because it was his way of saying affectionately, I respect you, mother. But you hear somebody say woman in this Greco-Roman society that you're in, and you go, why would he call me a woman? Because in your culture, we look at women as something that's prestigious. In their culture, you a trophy. All right, shalom to you too, Brooklyn. Thanks for being on. You stay fixated on his name because there's so many biblical references where the name is vital. Right? If my people who are called by my name would humble themselves, fast and pray, and turn from their wicked ways, then I would hear from heaven. In the name of Abba, in the name of Yahweh, At Yashva, At Ravak HaKodash, in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. That the word name, by the way, it even means Shem, Sham, which means authority. So if somebody said, what's your Shem? They were saying, what's your name? So anybody who's Shemitic, we're saying, what's your name? Don't say that you're anti-Semitic, but you don't want me to call out your name. You see what I'm saying? Like your name, right? Is that the name of Yahshua, that every tongue, right? That every knee shall bow, right? Right? And every tongue will confess that Yahshua Mashiach is Adon, he is Lord. Is that it's Shem. It's even making an attachment. It's cultural. That's what I'm saying. We're talking these things without culture. We're trying to talk democracy without culture. We're trying to talk about republic without culture. That's why yesterday, if you want to know about culture and what we're talking about with this democratic republic for people that are arguing, go back to yesterday's lesson and look at the recording on YouTube and look at what we're talking about, the truth about romantic government. And you will discover that all these titles, the consuls and all this stuff that's there, they're still working the same way. There's a culture. Why is it that when you go out on a date, you were taught that you need to have a candlelit dinner, even though you should be able to see what you eat? But why is it that you go out for a candlelit dinner and you think that that's romantic? Because it is, because poor folk could barely afford candles and they lived in caves. That was their apartments. A lot of them lived in caves that were carved out. And so in their caves that were carved out, when they could have a candle from time to time, it was very romantic. And so since they lived in these romantic, that was a romantic thing. So if you had a candle you could see in the dark, that was romantic. It was lit, right? It was lit. So now we can see a little bit. So you today think that a romantic thing is based off the poor, but by the way, that's very cultural with an oppressor, right? Why do you like pho? Pho for those that eat pho. It's what Vietnamese poor folk ate. Now they'll make it in a manner in which you think that it's rich and this and that, and it's something that they love in the community. But poor people ate pho, right? Poor people ate pho, right? Why is it that you eat? You think the soul food. By the way, I got no problem with soul food as a whole. But why do you think that pork chops and chitterlings and all this stuff and cornbread and all this grease and everything? Why do you think that's there? That's because that was all you had to be able to survive off of. Poor people ate that. Now, if you go to the African American History Museum in DC, owned by the government, so you're not even making any money off of it or whatever. But when you see that place, when you go down and you get ready to eat, I think on the first floor, or whatever floor you first walk in on, when you eat on the first floor, all the stuff that you were trying to survive off of, now they charging you an arm and a leg for, to be able to say that you can eat off your culture. What about Popeye's chicken or Church's chicken? They even putting your churches in it now, right? Popeye's chicken and Church's chicken and hip hop chicken. I haven't even been there before. Actually, I think I went once to pick up an order when I was still doing the side hustle thing, but I've never ate there. But I want to go one day and just look at the menu. Bojangles chicken, literally soft shoe and doing your step and fetch it stuff, right? There's a culture attached to it, right? There's a culture attached to it, and we don't want to talk about things culturally. There's a reason why. There's a reason why Black people still be looking at other people and be like, man, I like chicken and watermelon, but I don't want to eat it like that around everybody else because it just makes me feel some kind of way. Because people tried to make chicken when Black people started making money off of, like, for example, off of watermelon ice cream. Then all of a sudden, they took a turkey in the straw and they changed it into they changed the lyrics up and put on blackface and went around the planet singing "N-word love a watermelon, ha 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 ha," right? Right? But they changed the words to "N-word love a watermelon, ha 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 ha," "N-word love a watermelon, ha 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 ha," because people were making money. Black people were making money off of watermelon, growing it naturally, and they were making money off of making their own watermelon ice cream. So what did they do? Once again, remember we talked about yesterday, it's not about all people, it's about the one people in the Declaration of Independence, and only they are supposed to have to have life, or what is it, to live? No, to have life, to have liberty, and to pursue happiness. So whenever you're pursuing happiness, what are they supposed to do? Come up with something that's anti your happiness. There's a culture, and people want to ignore it, but there's a culture, and we can't come out of it unless there's a culture, right? Like, there's liberty, life, and pursuit of happiness, but that's not for all people. The Declaration of Independence told you that's only for certain people. And so that's why to this day, right? Go back and look at these cartoons, the Looney Tunes and stuff. Go back and look at the older Looney Tunes if you really want to. For example, Elmer Fudd. Elmer Fudd was originally a Black man. That's why he speaks the way he speaks. That's why he speaks the way he speaks. That's why he's supposed to sound uneducated. That's why he always gets tricked. He was originally a Black character. Can't ever speak right. All his words jumbled up. Sylvester's a Black cat with an attitude. Speaks very similarly. He speaks quicker than Elmer Fudd did. But Elmer Fudd was supposed to be a slow Black man. Go look at him. Go look him up. Look up the original Elmer Fudd. Go look up the original Bugs Bunny when he had a cigar in his mouth. His voice sounded a lot different back then. He sounded like a Black man. A Black man is supposed to be tricky. Go look back at how many of those characters wore white gloves. Where did the white gloves come from? The white gloves come from the same place that your deacons and your deaconesses wear white gloves. Mickey Mouse wears white gloves too, even though that's not Looney Tunes, but we can go ahead and bounce around a little bit. Why does Mickey Mouse wear white gloves? Why does Goofy wear white gloves? Why does Minnie Mouse wear white gloves? Why does Donald Duck not have to wear gloves? Why do deacons wear white gloves? because when you had an offering, they didn't want black hands to touch white money. Why is it that when Tom and Jerry were doing their thing, you had a black mammy? You hear? You see what I'm saying? This is a culture. Children were raised on this. I see, look, even white social construct people, white people who did the same, who did dirty and disgusting and despicable things, they were raised to feel like that. They were raised to think like that. Like, you got to realize the same way you were raised to denounce yourself, they were raised to denounce humanity. Because you have to think of yourself as a separate individual. You have to think of yourself as either human and everybody else is not, or you have to think of yourself as superhuman and everybody else is regular human in order to go there. Everybody had to be raised off of this foolishness, is my ultimate point. Democracy, they gave you a little bit, and they governed the whole human being, or all of humanity, off of a falsehood. You got the Mexican mouse and the French skunk, of course, and the French skunk smells, right? I don't know how many people caught that that's a very French reference. You said there was something about MJ wearing one white glove. um I never thought about that. I don't know if that's something to be tied in. Could be. Right, but I'm just saying, you have all these things we don't even recognize. We don't even realize where that stuff came from. Donald Duck didn't have to wear white gloves because he had white skin, white feathers, even though we know he probably didn't have white skin, but that's how they put him, right? He was a white man. He was a sailor. He was somebody that fought for the cause. So he wouldn't need white gloves. But Mickey Mouse is black. He needs some white gloves, even though you think of him as the most beloved. But even think about him. Mickey Mouse, you had to make him what? His voice had to raise up high. He had to be very a portion of his body or whatever. Right? Donald Duck, he was fully clothed, sailor, fought for what was righteous. This is a continued thing. This is why when you check out Looney Tunes and stuff like that, they didn't really do it in Disney. Well, they did it in Disney too. Belay that last statement. They did it in Disney as well, right? When somebody had an explosion and their face exploded and the smoke cleared, what did their face look like? When somebody went through an explosion, what did their face look like? You hear what I'm saying? When somebody went through an explosion, you watched the Looney Tunes thing. It was black face. They had the thick red lips, teeth showing, right? It was blackface. It was an homage to blackface. You know why? Because blackface, first of all, blackface was not put on white people first. Blackface was actually worn by black people first. And black people wore blackface at first during the 1800s when they were starting to have a little bit of chance to be able to travel some, especially on the Chitlin circuit. But even in some of the white neighborhoods, they put on blackface because it was something that made the white people were comfortable at laughing at them. The blacker they got, the more foolish they looked. And so white people laughed at them. Now, you had white people that wanted to make money, so they put on blackface and they sung the same way and they acted stupid and dumb. That's how you get the Step and Fetchits of the world and the Bojangles of the world, and et cetera, right? You were supposed to play a dumb character. Who was the first black woman? I don't even remember her name, but the woman from what movie is that? Where he says, and I'm just quoting, where Clark's character says, "Frankly, Miss Scarlet, I don't give a damn." Whatever movie that is, Gone with the Wind. First black woman to wear win an Oscar. What did she win an Oscar for? She won an Oscar for being a mammy. Hattie Mae. I'm not sure what her name. I don't really never watched it. My mom liked the movie. A lot of women liked the movie. I was, I've never been able to get into that movie. You know, but she got an Oscar for being what? For being a black mammy. It's part of the thing that or entertains. Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. said that one of the biggest problems with people the social construct of being white is that they feel like they don't have to ever be educated, and therefore they keep remaining in ignorance. Ignorance about black folk makes certain people laugh, including black folk. Let's be honest. We like to laugh at our own ignorance. We like to laugh and applaud ignorance just as much as everybody else does. I hope that's not too real for some, but that's real. We like to watch Cardi B act stupid, and then we put her up there and say, "Hey, let her represent us. Represent how we feel." Why is Cardi B representing us? Cardi B is somebody, and look, no shade to her, not trying to slut shame and do anything like that, but let's keep it 100. Cardi B is somebody who's out here, who's trying to get her music career by any means necessary, was out here stripping and demeaning herself, was out here, this before she got, famous, was out here sleeping with guys, stealing their money while they were asleep, right? And basically like drugging them so she could take their money and be able to go to the studio with it. Why is that our representative? And she's unapologetic for that. I wouldn't mind her being unapologetically black or whatever, but she's unapologetically a thief. Basically, date rape people. You said Cardi B represents Cardi B. She's Hispanic, not black. You think that people? You think that people that are from you think that somebody that's Puerto Ricano, Cubano, Haitian, Dominicano, Mexicano, the list goes on. Hey, how you doing, brother? Okay, okay. But you think that all these people, you think that all those people, um, you think that those people don't have any African blood or any native blood that we have? See, it's about being one. I'm not talking about black people in America or African Americans as if that's actually a real thing. I'm talking about all of us. She's not a representation of all of us. You know what I'm saying? She's not a representation of all of us, right? People in Brazil, you got the same. Matter of fact, don't forget that they got Confederate flags in Brazil. They took slaves from the United States of America and took them down to Brazil when the Confederates lost. We the same. We dealing with the same oppressor. We dealing with the same oppressive mindset. You said even the sports today, like football, baseball, were derived from lynching. But they cut. I mean, some of that. I have. I'm just gonna be honest with you. And to each their own. I'm not trying to say you're wrong and I'm right. I'm just saying I haven't found enough to. I get where some of that stuff comes from, and I like some of it. Matter of fact, even it sounds like you probably know about like even Dr. Francis Cress Welsing and stuff. I like some of that mentality. I don't know if all of it's real, but I do see some similarities and stuff where, if you're going to talk about golf, you got to talk about a particular type of color and stuff. You can talk about hockey, you can talk about different things or whatever. But, soccer is something that comes before we even knew there was such thing as white and black, before somebody taught us that. Soccer was something that was played by indigenous people to the Americas long, long before. Soccer goes back to the times of pyramids being built. So, but I get what you're saying overall, you know. Um, you said J. Edgar Hoover. Yeah, we talked about that yesterday, J. Edgar Hoover, because somebody was saying that, if they're homosexual or whatever, then they should be more open minded. I was like, well, J. Edgar Hoover was homosexual and he was black, and he killed a bunch of homosexuals who were black because they were homosexuals who were black, but he passed for white, or he passed enough for white, you know. you know but so I think some of those things, some of those items, I'm always looking for the origin, but I get the mindset, and even today you can definitely see how things have been changed. And even when you look at soccer, I mean, go watch a soccer game in Europe. I don't care where you're watching it, see how they treat people of color when they play soccer. Yeah, J. Edgar Hoover was black, at least part black. His mama was black for sure. It's like, we have all this stuff. Yeah, J. Edgar Hoover was black. Don't forget Abraham Lincoln was a Melungeon, so his mama was black, African and black native. His father was white. He was born a slave. They actually slip up in some books. They'll tell you that, but they don't explain it. Like when I was younger, I remember like it not making sense. I remember they taught us about Lincoln, and they just mentioned in passing. They were like, well, his father mistreated him a lot. That's why he had an affinity for the slaves. They're like his father, which wasn't 100% true either, but they're like his father used to treat him like a slave, because in the state that Lincoln was born in, it was okay to treat your child like a slave. And I was always like, that was odd, but it always stayed with me. But I never really got it. Then you get older and you do some research. You're like, oh, because his mama was a slave. His daddy raped his mama. That's how he got here. He was able to get his freedom, and then he was able to go ahead and disassociate himself from it. And he did just like J. Edgar Hoover did. He did just like uh, Eisenhower did. He did just like Obama did. You go away from it. No, Obama, he melted a little more because they tried to make him the first black president, but Obama is the first black president. You said, how did the Hoodoo treat the Tutsi? How did the Crips treat the Bloods? What is your point? Is the point to say that black on black crime? I mean, how did the English treat the Irish? Why is there still a Londonderry where there should be Freederry? Why are the English still in Wales? Why do the English still have colonies? Evil is evil, by the way. I don't like Papa Doc because he's black. I despise Papa Doc. He killed his own people. You need to get that together. That's your personal thing. That's your personal thing. You heard a color and you made an assumption. That's what we're talking about today, democracy. As Minister Nye said earlier, a lot of people on here, you get some crumbs and don't even know where, and don't even look for the bread it came from. This is coming up. We're about to close. We've been on here like 3 hours, just about. We're about to take our leave now. Right? Open your mind up to hear more than just that. Here we go. Race hustlers are laughing at us all the way to the bank. Evil is evil. That's right. Yep. There you go. Evil is evil all the way. So I can mention race and not be trying to make sure that I hustle up on some stuff. I can mention that Idi Amin is terrible. I can mention that I don't like Jesse Jackson. Right? I love Jesse Jackson because in my culture, you can love your enemy. Right? Love is an action, but I don't like Jesse. You know what I'm saying? Like we got a weird thing where we're trying once again. I'm not here to separate. Right? The only thing that separates really is truth, because people will either accept truth or they won't. Thank you, Toe. I appreciate it. Right? But all we given is truth. I'm sorry. What? People's children disappear, black and very pretty ones, whites too. Sure. Yeah. I mean, okay. I don't know. I mean, I don't make distinction that say that white children are less important than black children. So I agree with you. Agree with your adversary quickly, right? We talked about that. So yeah, we're having a different conversation. A lot of people are thinking that this is me trying to cause separation. I didn't write these. I didn't write these things. I didn't make up the term democracy. Right? I didn't tell you that you need to be Republican or Democrat. You need to talk to your Republicans and Democrats. Ask them why they want you to vote a thing rather than vote for a person, right? What you need to ask them. You need to ask your Democratic Party members why is it that they voted for Joe Biden after singing and having on TikTok for about 6 months or so. It was a thing going around talking about please don't make me vote for Joe Biden, right? Like you got to ask yourself those things. And by the way, when somebody does ask if I'm educated or not, and thank you for that compliment, appreciate it. When somebody asks if I'm educated, that's cool, because what they're saying is that you're not educated in our system, and that means that I'm doing well. you know, like yeah, I'm not educated in your system. Matter of fact, put it like this: I was educated in your system, but I always was learning about myself. And then when I went full tilt into learning myself, and said I'm not going to do what you guys tell me I have to do in order to be considered to be a person, then I became great or greater. I was already great. I had greatness in me, but I was able to unlock it because I unlocked the system. I unchained myself. I'm not tethered to the system. A lot of people are tethered to a ball that just says, hey, somebody hits you, Republican hits you one way, Democrat hits you another, Democrats win again. So then all of a sudden it comes around in a loop. You think that they're winning, but the Republican jumps up, he hits the ball around, and it's tethered to the same pole, and you're just going through the same game, but nobody's ever won. Nobody's ever won. right? If I sit at the dining room, this is what Malcolm X taught us. If I sit at a dining room table, or I go into a diner and I sit at the dining table and I have food surrounding me and I pay just as much as everybody else is paid, but I don't have food on my plate the way everybody else's food on my plate, you can't call me a diner just because I'm in a diner. And all we're saying is there's people who are paid the same stuff, if not more sometimes, to be able to have the same meal and we still haven't ate. At some point, it don't matter what you call yourself. You're somebody that doesn't allow me to dine. And if you would not allow me to dine, don't call me a diner. Call me somebody that's in a diner, but it's not of it. And if I'm smart, what will happen is when we go to the diner, I won't pay for what I'm not served. And if I'm not going to be served and I'm not going to pay for it, I might as well pay for something I bring in for myself that I've made myself and I will feed myself so that I can be a diner. But I won't be a diner on your dime. I won't be a diner in your culture. I won't eat what you eat. I will eat things that I know that are righteous for me and my body and that take care of my family. And what's happened is that we don't want to tell the truth that just because everybody's been in the same diner doesn't mean they've had the same experience. If you tell me that when I go to a diner, I'm gonna pay I'm gonna pay $200 for a meal, and that but my chef is gonna be a newborn baby. Meanwhile, you tell me that you're gonna have the diner, you're gonna have somebody else walk into the same restaurant, maybe pay $50 for the meal, and they're gonna get the $200 experience from an actual chef. Well, then we're not dining the same, right? I'm sorry, you said Democrats, Republicans know for a great evil cause sanction. That's where America gets her power. And okay, you said, or even sit at another table in another establishment altogether. If one doesn't exist, build your own. Exactly, and that's what I'm saying. Like, I believe that you deserve reparations, but you got to comprehend reparations. You're asking for reparations for them to give you, a meal for the rest of your life in the same place where they don't accept you to be the same person. Once again, go and read the Declaration of Independence. That all that stuff they talk about, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, is not for everybody. It's for certain people. So if you don't meet the criteria for those certain people, you're not supposed to have life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. They even called you savages in that, right? Remember, we read over it yesterday, right? So you'll see that you're not considered to be a person. If I'm not considered to be a person, then guess what I need to do? I need to have a system where I can pursue life, liberty, and I can pursue happiness. Matter of fact, I shouldn't even have to pursue it. It says that I should have the right to have life, liberty, and to pursue happiness. And it says even later on, one of the reasons that they listed that they left the king is because the king was tyrannical. Well, if I live in a place where it's tyrant, and they said in this very Declaration of Independence that you guys love so much, it says specifically that if you're under a government who does the same thing to you that they're claiming this king did to them, even though they were the king's friends. But anyways, if they did the same thing to you that they're doing that the king did to them, that you have not only the right, but it says you have the duty to make sure that you leave that government, create your own, and create new guards for yourselves. However, though, when I do what you said, what your Declaration of Independence says do, when I tell my people do the same thing, now you say I'm non-American. If anybody's American, by your definition of it, by your Constitution, even though I know I'm not the people of it, but if you want to get past that part because you don't see color or you don't want to look at the people that it claims of in your Constitution and your Declaration of Independence, well, then if you say I'm the same as you, then I'm more American than you, because it's my duty and my responsibility that when I see tyranny, to create a government, to make sure that I have new guards for it, and to make sure it's better than that which you claim is the best, according to your Declaration of Independence. Because I should have life, I should have certain liberties, and I should be able to pursue happiness. Why is it that when we pursue happiness, and you say that it's not okay for us to pursue it in the manner we pursue it, that we can't say, hey, let's have our own government? The reason is because you don't want to be honest about the fact that you're part of a system, even if you didn't make the system, but you're part of a system that says in order for certain people to have control, they must make sure that others serve them. Why? Because you cannot serve what you can control, and you cannot control what you serve. If I want to serve my people, then I can't control my people. So I never would. But at the same time, my people have to be under control of a certain guideline, understanding, standard, etc. Right? The Most High, Yahweh. We have to be under something that is something that's bigger than ourselves. So you want me to be under something that tells us to submit to somebody else's mission that causes death and destruction? I can't do that anymore. I will not do it anymore. I shall not do it anymore. It doesn't make sense. And if that means to you that you have become my enemy, then make yourself whatever you feel you have to be. But why do you have to become my enemy when I pursue happiness? Yeah, exactly. A life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness, it has to come through being private if you're going to live in the system. So you can be in the system, however, not of it. That's why we talk about privacy. There are certain conversations, there's certain things that we teach that I would never teach in this platform. You know why? Because it's not for everybody. There are certain people that are waiting for us to tell us, to say things and do things so that they can take from us. Yes, they are. Yes, there are. There's somebody out there that hopes and prays that you never become your real self. This is why on TikTok, I can only go but so far. TikTok will cancel me. They've done it plenty of times already, and it's okay. YouTube will cancel me. Done it before, that's okay. Facebook will cancel me. Done it before, that's okay. That's what they're supposed to do. I'm an enemy of their system. If I give something that causes freedom, then I'm an enemy, because you can't be free, freedom, free domain. You can't be in someone else's domain, right? And be in freedom. Don't look at it strange when they tell you that. Don't be flabbergasted when somebody comes on and tells you that, oh, I can't believe that you are talking like this. I can't believe you're so this and that. Don't be weirded out when your own people are like, man, you rocking the boat. Yeah, to be yourself is to rock the boat, because in this system, you're not supposed to be you. Matter of fact, censorship, we talked about that yesterday. Censor is actually one of, right? I don't even think we went over it yesterday because we had so many different places we ended up going. But if we look at this real quick, we got to get ready to take our leave. But on our list, if you look up no, that's a tribune. Where's the censor? If you look up a censor, right? A censor is different than what you think. A censor is somebody who basically was a magistrate. We talked about a magistrate or a pro-magistrate yesterday, right? A censor is a magistrate in ancient Rome who was responsible for maintaining the census, supervising public morality, and overseeing certain aspects of the government's finances. The power of the censor was absolute. No magistrate could oppose his decisions, and only another censor who succeeded him, right? That means, because in order to be a success, you have to have a successor. So only a censor who succeeded him, who was the success, right, or the successor of the magistrate, right? Only they could cancel those decisions. The censor's regulation of public morality is the origin of the modern meaning of the words censor and censorship. So once again, it is what? It is the meaning. That's where when you say censor, you get it from what? Romantic government. People say, what do you mean by romantic government? The government of the Romans, right? The censors were magistrates in ancient Rome, right? And they were responsible. They were responsible for maintaining the census. You think that the census comes from the people. No, the census is not about what the people think. That's a poll. I don't care if they tell you it's a census or not. That's a poll. That's politics. That's a poll that they're taking. The censor tells you the census. The censor is the one that says this is what people think. This is what your public morality should be. And they are overseers. Like you had overseers on the plantation, like you have, and their power is absolute. That's not the magistrate. They are a magistrate, but they didn't call it magistrate, but they basically are super magistrates, right? That's not the council. The council might become a censor maybe later on, or maybe it's a censor at one point before they become a council, but they're above the council. So the council can't come by and be like, oh, but the magistrate, no. You can't tell me what to do. The president can't tell the censor what to do. So you keep looking at these people talking about, oh, they're going to do this and that, or we need to get the president involved, or we need to vote on this. Like, the censor is in charge. Censorship. See how it's important when we're talking about the truth about series, the truth about romantic government, the truth about democracy, the truth about telling the truth. We already did that, right? Like you gotta be honest about this. We can't have honest conversation if we're steeped in dishonesty. Yeah, they determine the demographics, right? If somebody redlines, then that means that they're the ones who say people can live where they live. You think the census? See, you watch this. The census is the result of the censor. So if you go to a neighborhood and you be like, man, well, black people live in this white neighborhood, this and that, things must be okay, right? No, that's the census that they went around and got information. By the way, not everybody's always honest in the census either, or not everybody's there to answer the census. But the censor is the one that demanded that people were allowed to live where they could live. Right? So when you talk about censorship, you're talking about somebody who's telling you like there's no consul, there's no praetor, there's no quaestador, or whatever that is. Sorry, there's no tribune. There's no. The censor is the end all be all, right? The public corporation, they tell you what you're supposed to eat and what you're supposed to drink. The truth about Christmas, but we actually got some stuff on there. We have like a whole series from last year. We might do something similar this year where we did like a 12 days of Christmas thing, but it was the 12 truths of Christmas. And we even did some cartoon stuff in there as well. So we might do something similar like that again this year as it comes up. But yeah, we can do the truth about Christmas. If you want to do truth, I think we do something. I don't know if we had, oh, you know what? That might have been on the YouTube channel they took down. I think we had like a truth about holidays series as well. So, but yeah, we can do that. If somebody can remind me, I'll try to write it down. If somebody maybe can text it to me or something as a reminder, or if I start talking about something else tomorrow, somebody just remind me, you were supposed to talk about truth about Christmas, and I'll be ready. But yeah, we talk about Christmas all the time because you can't talk about a lot of pagan, Norse, Gentile, Assyrian, Kemetic stuff, believe it or not, without talking about Christmas. Like the people who worship or celebrate Christmas more, which is a holy day, holiday, it's not Christians. And I'm not a Christian, by the way, but it's not Christians. People who celebrate Christmas more than anybody else are in fact pagans and witches and people like that, because it's Druids. It's not your holiday, right? So when you fill out the census, all you're doing is saying, this is what the censor allows me to be. But we think, oh no, I'm going to fill out the censor because this is what I'm allowed to be. No, when you fill out the census, you're saying, this is what the censor allowed me to become. Right? No, I'm not a Christian. I am not Cristianos. Of course not. Right? And before somebody hits me with, well, why do you quote the Bible a lot? Well, the Bible existed before there was such thing as a Christian. Right. Anyway, though, thank y'all for being on. We are at time. I have been having such issue trying to come on Kofi_42 in the evenings. However, I'm pretty sure I will be in the same area. So we should have signal later on for this evening. So I don't know why we've been having such an issue coming on the evenings. Ever since we said press and strain, I've been having personal difficulties and all types of stuff and things like that going on. But we should be okay to come on this evening. So hopefully I'll see you not on Kofi_43 if you're on TikTok. Look for Kofi_42. And thank you for those who've liked, shared, subscribed, all that. I will try my best. It's been a while since I put any content out on just regular videos on TikTok. So I'll try my best to put some stuff out if you guys want to look for that. Don't forget you can be part of the Patreon Kingdom, Patreon family. Give me another week. I thought today we were actually going to be headed down, back down south, or we were going to stay there for a little while. Y'all be speaking stuff over me. Stop speaking stuff. I'm just kidding with y'all. But people were like, oh, I don't think that's going to be the end of your travel, this and that. Sure enough, though, but it's because of family reasons. I have a family member that's not doing so well, and they may not make it through this week. So just to make sure that everything is taken care of correct and I'm in position for whatever I need to be in position for, I will be staying here a little longer. Because of that, we will be doing an impromptu coat drive in this area, though. So we'll have that together on Saturday. So this Saturday we won't really have another SOC meeting, but it's because just in all honesty, I got to take care of family, and it's having us extend other things. Plus, we haven't really visited some folk in this area too, so we might try to do a little bit of that while we're here. for those that are in the area. Just kind of stay tuned. But my main focus right now is just kind of family stuff. So we'll wait another week before we head back down south. So anybody in the DMV, if you're in Virginia, DC, Maryland, if you're interested in doing something together, my schedule's still gonna be tight because of the family situation. But maybe we can do something together. And even if I'm not there physically, we can still do something. But maybe we can do something together before I roll back down. And y'all keep us in prayer. We do have somebody else who's dealing with a family member, similar issue. And so keep them in prayer as well. We've had some, well, we have a lot of people, so I guess we're always dealing with somebody losing someone. We're still praying for the Harrison family and the Harrison clan that they do better. And with the loss of our brother's father, and Minister Sharon and what she just went through with the loss of Deja, and some who haven't allowed us to put their business out, but we're praying for you guys always. Thank you for listening in and tuning in. If you want to learn more about Yas Land Project 83, just give us some time. We're kind of trying to reformat. We tried to do the thing of just going off of donations. That didn't really work. If people want to give donations, they can, but we're going to start working on some different things as far as getting back into the our grind, as far as the why do I always forget this word? I don't know. There's certain words for some reason don't work in my brain, y'all. Raising fundraiser. There we go, raising funds. So if you want more information on that, let us know. But if you want more information to get in touch with us about classes, about anything, one-on-one sessions, marital coaching, now that we're back on track, some of us are behind in some of our stuff as well. If you want more information on any of it, right now we're kind of sort of halfway through the semester of classes. But we're going to have to extend it some because even though I'm going to give recordings, we haven't really been meeting in person as much these last few weeks. So if you want to join, you can kind of join. You just got to do some catch up with the recordings. But if you want information on that stuff, if you just want to wait to the fourth semester, which will probably start in December, feel free to get that info and stuff as well. But we're thankful to you guys. We honor you guys. We appreciate you all. Feel free to go to the website, kofi-ofori.com, KOFI-OFORI.com. Check out the podcast, to check out some things. We've got a couple years worth at least of stuff on the podcast. It's called the Kofi of 40 podcast. If you want to join us live on Saturdays, you got to have the Podbean app, Podbean app, Podbean app, and look up the Kofi of 40 podcast. If you're looking for us in general on Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, Google, whatever, just look up hashtag FindKofi, hashtag FindKofi. And we appreciate you. Please check out my wife, the Honorable Maya. She's a herbalist, healer, biologist, and chemist. She's a biologist by degree. And she has tinctures, natural medicines that she creates for the diaspora, as well as changinglivesinitiative.org, which is what we use, a nonprofit that she's over to make sure that, or that she created, to make sure that we can feed people and give clothes and give now in this season coats and different things. We even have people that are donating, all types of body butters and different things like that for people. And we had people even calling in who missed the last one on Saturday, so they're going to be coming out for this one. Those of you who are in the DMV, feel free to participate if you like. It'll probably be in Bmore somewhere, but feel free to participate if you'd like to be able to come out as well. And we should be picking up some more items this weekend. So if you'd like to what's the word? If contribute, I don't know. I think it's just because it's time for me to check out. My mind's checking out. I'm tired. However, if you'd like to contribute, do whatever. Feel free to do those things or whatever, right? Put the info into the chat. But once again, just go to our TikTok page. So as soon as we end, you can just stay on here, go to the TikTok page, and then click on the link tree. As soon as you click on the link tree, you'll be able to get more information, whether you go to the website and text us or email us or etc. We'll make sure we get you that information. But we thank you all for being on. We appreciate you, whether you're watching this live, watching this later on, if you're watching the recording of this, whatever the case might be. Thank you so much for being on. Thank you once again to the moderators. Thank you to the ministerial staff. We're going to try and get you guys more involved in some of this live stuff. Maybe not this week, but maybe next week once we get back down and we can start having some of this stuff together. Thank you guys for being in there, hanging in there. And remember, this is our year where we're living inside of that which we have pursued. We still got a little bit of time left this year to make stuff happen. So hashtag finish strong and what it is that we're doing. And we thank you. We appreciate you. We honor you guys. We'll be on Kofi_42 on TikTok and on YouTube, same channel, but on TikTok, Kofi_42. We'll be back on this evening. And I'll try to be back on about 7:45 or so. And we'll go ahead and have some great conversation. Until I have a chance to be before you again, though, thank you for being on. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your love. Thank you for your gifts. Thank you for your kindness. Thank you for those that do things behind the scene. Thank you for those that are helping us to catch up on a lot of stuff. Thank you to those that are helping us towards getting the land together. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We appreciate you. We honor you. As always, it's been Pastor Kofi, Pastor Servant to Christ, where we are always changing lives one mind at a time by being a voice of the voiceless and speaking the unspoken. Until I have the great privilege, opportunity, and responsibility of being in front of you all again, please remember, as always, Yashadel, that you are loved, you're necessary, you're majestic, you're fearfully, wonderfully made, and you, which is all of us working together, will be the reason why people who are in this system no longer have to be of it. Shalom, family, and we'll talk to you soon. If we don't see you tonight, we'll be back on tomorrow, 8 a.m. Eastern, New York time. All right, peace.